to work hard. The money is making money for you, and you're able to utilize that capital for your gain. See what I'm saying? It's a massive difference. Then, when you do decide to say, fuck it, you can retire and you can leave whatever estate that you built to whoever you want to. Your best friend, your last lover, your kids if you got any, your grandkids. If you don't like your kids, fuck your kids. Leave it to your grandkids. Your grandkids like you better than your kids did. It don't matter. What matters is that you built something that will outlast you and it will keep functioning long after. I would have loved to be a second or third generation wealth family. But if I'm going to be a first generation wealth family, first of all, I want to make sure that I got the wealth before I die so that I can enjoy that first generation of wealth before I pass on that wealth to somebody else, right? But we've got to pay attention to how we're going to make that work. So, the main thing that you have to remember for your portfolio is this: the pattern is more predictable, excuse me, than the outcome. The pattern is more predictable than the outcome. Expect some choppy waters leading up to November 3rd, 2026. But history shows that once the dust settles, clarity returns, and the market tends to reward the investors who did not hit the panic button and run. So just because the market starts going in the opposite direction of where you wanted it to go does not mean that you should sell. Not all the time. Now, that mortgage rate that you're looking at, the rent check that you write every month, believe it or not, they're on the ballot this November too. The link between an off year election and the roof over your head might not seem obvious this year, but it's powerful and it runs straight through the huge, often misunderstood world of the bond market. Here's how it's going to work: the 2026 election results will directly shape America's fiscal policies, which, if you're paying attention, they're bitching about that right now through January 30th about the governmental policies and the governmental budget. A fancy term for how the government will spend its money and collect its taxes. So, this in turn has a huge impact on two things that you really care about: inflation and interest rates. Bond investors are obsessed with inflation because if they're getting uh, a bond where they're going to lend their money for 30 years to the government, they want to be sure that it won't be worthless when they get it back. Technically, when you think about it, it's going to be more than what it was when you started. But when the price of things costs so much more when you get it back, the amount of items you can buy with your return could be less than the amount of items that you would have bought with your initial investment. That is perceived as a loss of income, right? So when they see policies that could lead to higher government spending and more inflation, they demand higher interest rates on their loans. Those loans are those government bonds. And the interest rate on the 10-year treasury bond is the benchmark that sets the prices for nearly every other loan, especially that 30-year fixed rate mortgage that everybody's looking at. I know Donald Trump was talking about hypothetically what if he did a 50-year fixed rate mortgage. How you doing, Dylan? Special shout out to Dylan diving in tonight. I know that Donald Trump was talking about that 50-year mortgage scenario, and I would love for the 50-year mortgage scenario to become a thing before I start buying real estate because that would be a fantastic turn of events. You know, as a real estate investor, buying a house on a 50-year mortgage and paying the bare minimum, which is not what you want to do as a personal uh, 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 purchaser, but it is what you would like to do for a business venture. Venezuela got freedom. Freedom from what? Were they oppressed by America? What did Venezuela get freedom for? How much did it cost me for Venezuela to get freedom? Did they get tax free, or were they ever enslaved? Because I mean, I don't recall oppression in Venezuela. I'll have to look into that. We captured their leader. I'm not understanding how they're free. Right. Now we get the oil. So they're not free. They're about as imprisoned as we are. Ah, see, nah. So this is interesting money wise. America's getting more oil because they just took somebody out and now they're robbing somebody's land. Hey, it's the American way. You don't agree with our terms and conditions? We take you and we take it from you. Is like the biggest story of the year. No, it actually isn't. It is by far not the biggest story of the year. You know why it's not the biggest story of the year? Because Venezuela has nothing to do with your paycheck. Yeah, I know gas is below $2. I was just what was it a week or two ago? I went to the gas pump. What was it? It was New Christmas Eve? No, Christmas Day. I was driving around Christmas Day, and it was like 1.99 for gas. And I'm gonna thank Barack Obama for that. But the year just started. Hey, the okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing, which is sidestepping from our political thing, but it's kind of on topic with our political thing. So them stealing oil from Venezuela is potentially going to help with our gas prices, but not really all as much as economic shifts. I've been talking about for about 9 months now that the Gen Z way of life, the work life balance, is forcing employers to impose actual work life structure, including off days for holidays. I talked to you guys on a show about it in December. Everything as far as the eye could see was closed: stores, restaurants, mechanic shops, everything except the gas pumps were shut down. I drove around for 5 hours and I was one of five cars and no police on the road. Nationwide, enforcing that work life balance, you had more people staying at home. You had more people shopping online. You had less people driving around trying to get Christmas presents. You had less people driving around trying to take people out and entertain people and everything. And they just stayed at their damn house. So the less people that spend gas, the less gas prices are because there's more supply and less demand, and it happens every year. Typically, gas prices go down in the winter because less people are traveling, and typically gas prices go up in the summer because more people are traveling. But we also have gas prices go down when we stop participating in war activity. So when you're talking about how Venezuela and they got the oil, but you're not talking about how Russia and Ukraine stopped fucking each other up and the U.S. stopped sending B-52s over to Russia, which takes a lot of fuel. So when we stop involving ourselves in international warfare, we stop sending our most fuel costly equipment to the other side of the world, 15, 18 hours away to go fuck up somebody else's territory. Because notice, no matter what conflict happens anywhere in the world, we do not have war on our territory where another country has tanks, airplanes, insurgents, like coming over here just like the Pentagon is overwhelmed. We don't have that. We don't have that. The closest thing that we get to terrorist attacks is one American being pissed off at another American, shooting up a bunch of other Americans. The police shooting up innocent civilians. ISIS kidnapping innocent civilians that actually have birth certificates and proof of citizenship in the United States and are still being kidnapped. That's the kind of terror that we experience in the United States. Being black at a traffic stop, that's the kind of terror we experience in the United States. But like we don't have like a bunch of dinghy boats dropping off on shore and like 85 guys in black fits with war paint on and fitted caps and AR-15s running through the back of somebody's yard spraying stuff down. We don't have that, you know. You say, yeah, that's true. The new generation is changing everything. They're changing it, but they're not changing it. They're not changing everything for what we would consider the better. But so when you say but even though there's war somewhere, the fact is that it is a political shift because the U.S. wanted the minerals from Ukraine, so the U.S. got involved in the Ukraine-Russia territories dispute because if Russia is blowing up Ukraine, Russia is destroying the natural resources in Ukraine. It would have been different if they would have been over there mowing everybody down with an assault rifle. But when you're dropping nukes on stuff, you're destroying the environment, and that's where our profits come from. America gets involved financially before they get involved for the ethical reasons that a lot of the anti-war protesters claim that we should be getting involved in stuff. So when you jump in and you're like, oh yeah, Venezuela is free. I never knew that Venezuela was taken hot, but I'm glad that you told me that Venezuela actually did get captured. Because when you claim that now Venezuela is under United States control, they're no longer free. They must stop being who they were and start behaving like Americans. And if you are not from another country, and that country now dictates the government of your current country, you have been dominated. And you are not going to be happy about that. Yes, you're satisfied that the person that was talking shit to you is no longer in their position. But the new guy that's talking shit to you, you're not going to like that neither. But what are you going to do about it? Because that guy has bigger nukes than the guy that got taken out of his position. And now they got to pay taxes everywhere. Yeah, a lot of aid is going there now, as long as they agree with the U.S. policies. Oh, 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 oh. So they're not free. And it's not aid. It's not aid. We call it aid. That's called a bribe on one sense. And it's also called reparations or the repair bill because we did go over there and blow shit up. So we'll spend money to rebuild it if they cooperate. So if I burn your house to the ground, right? And then I offer you the ability to rebuild your house as long as you do what I tell you the way I tell you. Are you free or are you conquered? Because I would say that you got conquered. But we know this is the game of life. It's the political game of it's the US version of the political game of life. But these are the things that we pay attention to. So now that we're getting more oil from Venezuela, that means that anybody who's buying in oil stocks like ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, you might see stocks improve. So you want to go back and double check your portfolio. You know what I mean? These are the things that we be talking about that actually makes a huge difference in your ability to make yourself successful. So how is this going to play out after the 2026 election? We have imagining scenario A, where if the Republicans hold on to the power of Congress, their platform generally stresses controlling government spending. So if markets see this as a sign that the government will be less likely to go on a spending spree. It could calm the bond market, and fears of future inflation might actually fade, causing bond yields and mortgage rates to hold steady or even dip because they're right around that 7% interest rate. So for anyone looking to buy a house, that is going to be great news. And let's flip the script though, because where Democrats gain significant power in that exact same dynamic, which is a core part of their agenda, often involving expanding social programs, allowing for the poor people to get more benefits from the government and using government spending to stimulate the economy. While these goals may be worthy, bond markets often see them as potentially inflationary because poor people, the more money you give them, the more money they spend. Instead of them getting all that money and investing somewhere so that they don't have to continue to find the principal all over again, they need to invest that principal and then spend the interest instead of spending the principal and then looking for another principal. Steven, special shout out to Steven. He said, I had no idea we were at war with them until I turned on the news the other day. I don't turn on the news. I do research, and then it just so happens that I come across a headline that says that this impacts money. Because while there's news all over the place, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care about celebrities. I don't care about athletes. I don't care about movie stars. I don't care about anybody rich or famous. I don't care about the Epstein list, the Diddy trial, Nicki Minaj, Kim Kardashian, Little Kim in the Book of Fans was swallowing 100 dicks. I don't pay attention to none of that stuff. You tell me about war, I'm going to talk to you about how much that cost you. You tell me about a new governmental power, I'm going to tell you how much profit you just made. I'm only focused on, and I'm not down in the fact that we got other things we could talk about because then this and that, we can talk about this, that, and everything in between. Everything between religion, same sex marriage, all of we can talk about all of these things. But one of the things that I always try to focus on, and no matter what topic you bring up, I am going to point out how it impacts your wallet because that is what we are supposed to, the middle class, the lower middle class, the upper lower class, the lower class, the poverty class, which is 75% of America, we should be focusing on that. Our talks, our water cooler talks, our scuttlebutt talks, our campfire discussions should be about how do we make, save, and invest money and what is happening around us that impacts our ability to make, save, and invest money. Because why do we give a shit about something that's happening on the opposite side of the planet when it is not going to help us pay our bills tomorrow? Because the rent was due today. By midnight tomorrow, if your rent ain't paid, they are going to tax your ass. You're gonna get that late fee. You feel me? So it is imperative that you make a way to follow the money because it's not just about if you go to work tomorrow. Because if you work for yourself, like Dylan, you work for yourself. If something happens where your means for employment is no longer accessible to you, you know, you got your cab service. What if they destroy your cabs? Your ass ain't going to work no more. Who's paying the bills? This is what I be talking about. Jolin that becomes on the show. He's a roofer. He's going back to work 6 weeks after a broken foot. If he breaks another foot and he's out for another month, who's paying his bills? Exactly, Dylan. No, of course, nothing should matter. Well, yes, it should. Stuff that does not make us money should matter if it's interfering with our ability to make money. A governmental policy change that changes the way that we turn over profits is a huge thing that we need to pay attention to, which is way more important than Venezuela being free. Why is that? Because if what you was doing in 2025 was legal, and a new law gets passed in 2026 that says it's not, You go from making money for you to being on the next OJ Simpson trial without a Johnny Cochran lawyer because you didn't know that the policy changed because you're paying attention to the Venezuela flag going higher than the United States flag, which Donald Trump said that's not going to happen. They are secondary to surviving. Money is primary to survival in modern times. We're not using physical strength to bop people over the head and get our resources. We're using digital currency. We're not even using paper money. We're using digital currency, our bank account, our credit card, and the numerical value on our bank account when our credit card is scanned to run our life. They say money talk and bullshit walks because if you want something, you pay for it. If you have to ask how much it costs, you can't afford it. We were taught that when we were small. Okay, so special shout out to Runs. He says for anyone joining, he's talking about his future transitions from man to woman. Please be kind. I love this guy. I love this guy. So, these are the type of insecure little boys that come onto the podcast and they love to try to troll the show. I love that. I love that. And you know why I love that? Because they need attention. I let that sit up there for a minute. I let that sit up there for a minute. And the reason why I let that sit up there for a minute because I'm all about making money. I don't give a damn if you're he because first of all, if that idiot was paying attention to the political changes that we've had in the country, you understand that you can't change from being a man to a woman. It's been outlawed in the United States. So who the hell's gonna make that change? The trolls are dumb, bro. They dumb. They come in and instead of them coming, a troll that came onto the show and started spitting facts about business and finance and investment since you're able to listen to the show before you think about the stupid thing that you're going to say to get the key. And sometimes it's the kids, but you come through and you got the stupid thing that you do to get the key. And when you do that, now you kicked off of a show where you could have made a lot of money just watching. They could have just listened or kept scrolling, but they had to put something up there. But you could have put up a very complicated political question. You could have put up a very complicated financial question. You could have really challenged my morals and tried to put something up there that'll make me stop and think. But no, they come up and then they do something idiotic. And I'm okay with it. I'm not even going to edit it out of the show. I don't give a shit. Because maybe they're trying to become famous. Well, that's the point. That was his 15 seconds of fame. He got banned because he wanted to be famous. He got the laugh that he wanted to get, and now he's not able to come back to the show anymore. Now, for everybody else that stays on the show and pays attention to the information that we have, and for everybody else that keeps coming back to the show, those individuals are going to learn other ways to make, save, and invest money, and those are going to be the individuals that are going to find themselves no longer struggling for money. Because when you start your 20-year plan and you start improving on the ability to put away money and you start seeing the instant returns on the money that you're putting away, you start seeing more and more financial relief. Life stops getting hard. Life stops being stressful. Then you can focus more. Then you find, oh shit, I've got extra money somewhere, which allows you to pay for more things that needed to be paid for instead of wasting money on bullshit. When you start putting more money in more places where you now have extra money to fall back on, you don't have as many financial emergencies. I talked to you guys before. There's nothing in your life that is such an emergency that it can't wait a couple weeks for you to get your money together. But if you don't have any money to get together, it doesn't matter how much time you don't have enough money to pay for this problem. You crash your car, you might need a rental car in the morning. You can charge it to your credit card if you have a credit card. You have a medical problem, you can let them mail you a bill after you get released from the hospital, and you've got 90 days to pay for it before they can't even put it on your credit score no more. They would just charge it off, right? So you don't even need that money, right? Because they're not making you pay for ER treatment. They're only making you pay for pre-scheduled appointments. So ER treatment, you get stabilized first, and then they send you home with a bill. So if you choose not to pay that bill, the bill just don't get paid, right? Because they can't put it on your credit score no more, right? So uh borrowing money, you're only borrowing money because you spent more money than you had. You're not borrowing money to pay for your rent, your mortgage, your car note. If you're paying for your car note on time in advance, if you're paying your rent on time in advance, there's nothing in your life that you need money right this second. If you have a spare tire in your car, you get a flat, you can just use your spare. But if you're dating a jealous or vindictive person and they slash all four of your tires, you don't have enough tires to replace their negative behavior. And even if you did have a full set of tires in storage and you put them on the car, likely that person's going to double back and slash your tires again. And now you got eight flats because you're talking to the wrong person. But there's still no emergency that you need money right this second to go deal with some bullshit if you properly prepare your life. The emergency is if you don't have the ability to go to work for a while and your bills need to be stabilized until you can go back to work, including food. You still need money to wash your clothes, you still need money to eat. That's what the emergency is. If you get sick or you get hurt and you can't go to work for a while, you are your own breadwinner and you need to have enough money set aside so that you can take a couple of weeks off from work to recover, a couple months off from work to recover, right? They say 3 to 6 months at minimum, but typically, most car crashes require you to stay out of work between 6 to 18 months. So you should have between 12 and 18 months worth of money on the sidelines just in case another COVID happens. You need to have a year to 2 years worth of money on the sidelines. That way you don't have to work anymore. But if you're putting your money in the right spot, you start feeling more relief. Because if you've got 2 years worth of income sitting in the bank, you got like 120 grand if you're living in the United States. And if you got 120 grand and 120 grand is putting out almost 18% interest, you've got almost $22,000 a year being paid to you off of that 120 grand that you don't need right now because you're not in an emergency. See what I'm saying? Which there's your vacation because the principal is still there and the interest off the principal can pay for your vacation. I honestly think Americans spend too much money, too much on daily expenses like eating out. Well, we overpack our life with responsibility. We are taught from children that if we are useful, then we will have value. Then we are taught that idle minds don't get fed. So if we're not busy, we are considered lazy. So if we are not doing something, we are pressuring ourselves to do something else. Now, we stack too many things into one day, not taking into account how much time it takes to complete each thing. Typically, however much time it takes for you to resolve an issue in your mind, you need three times more time to execute that in reality. You think it's going to take you 15, 20 minutes to get this done. It's going to take you an hour and a half. Why? Because there are things that you cannot predict. If you're using a computer, the computer shuts down. Internet's not working. An update occurs. If you're communicating with an individual, you might think that this is going to be an easy in and out scenario, and then somebody will come in and be a rookie and not know how to do their job, and now you got to walk them through it. And now something that was supposed to be instantaneous now takes a long time. Oh shit! When I be on the phone with customer service for something that should only take 5 minutes, I be on the phone for 2.5 hours trying to convince them to do the 5 minute task. Life is not going to go the way you want it to go. So plan A is to get it done, and plan B is to spend extra time on getting it done. Right? And plan C is to improvise on the stupidity you have to deal with while you're trying to get it done by any means necessary, hopefully within the confines of the law. So since people put too much stuff into they're living a 26 or 30 hour day in a 24-hour clock. And then whatever they don't finish today, they push over till tomorrow. That means they don't have enough free time in their life. And because they don't have enough free time in their life, what that means is that now they have to eat out because they don't have time to cook. I added to the show a link where we were supposed to be cooking on the side, bro. The meals that I was cooking to put up there on the 1 to 5 minute video that I put up there, that shit took me 3 hours to make and had shit to do with editing the video just to make the food. The prep was an hour and a half to 2 hours. Then the food cooking was an hour and a half to 2 hours. Then I had to take the videos and take the pictures, and then the cleanup was another hour and a half to 2 hours. I spent like 6 to 8 hours on one plate of food, bruh. Folks ain't got that time no more, and women don't want to do none of that. They feel like that's oppressive. So the men got to feed themselves and their woman, and the women are going to go get something quick to eat because they don't want to cook for nobody, not even themselves. So everybody's eating out, and the people who are making your food got a family to feed. So now the cost of eating is going to cost way more because you got to pay for somebody else's standard of living so that you can be lazy. So that 2.5 hours on the phone to fix a problem in 5 minutes is still worth it. Oh fuck yeah, it's worth it. It is worth it. But the reason why it is worth it is because I've got the 2.5 hours to get that done. A lot of people who only got 20, 30 minutes to get this done, it's only supposed to take 5 minutes. They're gonna put three, five, seven things behind it. They're gonna get off the phone because they didn't resolve their issue, and they're gonna fucking wait till their day off, and the problem never gets resolved. I got time. I ain't got nothing to do for the next 5 hours. I'm gonna stay on the line until you fix my problem. My problem is now solved for the month. And I'll keep calling back and sit on the phone for 3 hours until they recognize that they're gonna have to fix my problem. This is the way you're able to get stuff done. But you want to have the ability to have your money make money for you. You want to have the ability to have your stuff taken care of so far in advance that you have that free time. And that's why we're talking about how politics are going to be negatively impacting our money because that is going to be what's going to drive us to um, those situations where we can afford to do more things. There's a lot of people trick themselves thinking they don't have time, but we know we have to make time to make it happen. But see, that's the thing. They trick themselves into thinking they don't have time because they prioritize insignificant things. And we've talked about this on a show for plenty of times. We've told you guys that there are 20% of things in your life that need to be done that has 80% of impact on your life. The other 80% of stuff that you're packing in is just self validation shit that has nothing to do with the value of your life. And it takes up the most effort with the least amount of impact on your life. So I've talked to you guys on the show plenty of times about how you have to rearrange your priorities in the things in your life that impact your life so that you have the capabilities of effectively putting more effort into the things that are going to make the most change. You got two primary things that you want to accomplish today, three things that if you have the opportunity to do it, you'll get to it. But if not, you will pass it on till tomorrow. You will find that any task that you pass over 7 times was not important. So if you accomplish two things today, you had a full day. If you accomplish 5 things today, fantastic. By the third day of the week, you will find out that you had far less shit you needed to do. And the rest of that stuff that you just wish you could have did, you ain't had to do it. Well, distractions don't impact our lives, but that's what we do. They don't impact our lives in a good way. But what we do is to not be lazy and sit somewhere scrolling on social media, not learning nothing. Instead of sitting there playing video games all day, not learning nothing, Instead of sitting there all day watching Netflix, not learning nothing, we can either put ourselves in a position to learn something new, or we can put ourselves in a position to do more stuff. I play video games on my cell phone. I used to have a gaming console, but I got too many things to do. If it instead of me spending 8 hours a day playing video games, I can spend that 8 hours a day sleeping, which gives me 16 hours a day to get stuff done. And most people work 8 to 10 hours a day. That gives you 4 hours a day to not be asleep, not have to work, and still be able to get you some mental relief. We're not learning about a lot of these things yet, but I'm teaching y'all. I'm putting it up there. Y'all got to go back and do it. He said, I learned about Korean culture on Netflix, so I don't consider it learning something when I clean my house and have it on in the background. Well, it's not preventing you from being productive. I'm not talking about, so just like with this podcast, there are so many people that watch this podcast, they have it on in the background, like Carl. He's in the hospital with his family members. Him, and matter of fact, in Bayside, because Bayside's wife's in the hospital, Carl's dad was in the hospital, and he's listening to it. The phone is off to the side, so they can't comment in the comment section, but they listen to the show every day, right? But they're learning something while they're doing something else, prioritization. But when I talk about just sitting there watching Netflix, I'm talking about like you got Netflix on your phone, you're holding your phone with two hands and you're staring at the screen for 4 hours watching a series, doing absolutely nothing. You're not being productive. But if you're able to prop the phone up somewhere, you're in the kitchen, you're cleaning the kitchen, you got the phone on top of the microwave, you're listening to me talk to you guys about stuff, you're learning about some things, then you decide, oh, let me look into what I just heard off of this movie or whatever, whatever. Let me see if I can apply that to my life. And then you start doing research. Then you learn some new stuff. Then you implement the things that you can and recognize the things that you can't. And now you have a new game plan. So while you were cleaning your kitchen, you found a new culture that you could implement into your lifestyle. That's fine. That's fine. If you're watching a Japanese anime and you decide to learn how to use chopsticks, you learned a new skill. I work third shift, so I'm multitasking, bro. I used to work third shift, and I'm gonna tell you right now, ain't no, and I used to work that long third shift, that 9 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning third shift. I would get to work at 8 and get off at 8. I gotta tell you, it pissed me off so much, but I was making money. I only had to work 4 days a week. Because I spent 3 years of my life uh, unproductive after my relationship ended. Most men do because we. How you doing, Jolan? Good to see you again, my brother. Uh, most of us when we get out of our relationships, we because women emotionally detach themselves from. We're gonna get back to the political part of things. So please hang out with us a little bit. I'm gonna talk about this and then get back to the main topic. Uh, most of us recognize because women get into a relationship, they emotionally detach themselves from a relationship before they remove themselves from the relationship. And a lot of times, a woman will emotionally remove herself from the relationship first, start building her exit plan first while still being in the relationship. And then once she has the security of a smooth transition, then she breaks the news to you, breaks up with you, and then she goes somewhere else. So she is capable of moving on faster. She probably got a new boyfriend, a new house to move into, and everything like that. When she tells you she's breaking up with you, it's not you, it's me, blah, 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 blah. But the day that you find out about it, that's when you go through the 3 6 month, 3 year process of grieving a relationship and changing and improving. So the fact is that yeah, I would expect once you found out you would take a few years. It took me a few years to get over the last one too, but once I got over it, I was straight. Yeah, going to bed at 2 a.m. is better than working graveyard. That's right. I know I got a 2:30 to 3:30, but after the podcast, when I finish with the podcast and I finish with the client, I go to bed at 3:45, 4 o'clock, and wake up at 10. If people ask me why I'm so hungry in life, it's because I wasted so many years. That's why I'm out here getting that money. That's why I'm out here getting that money. I'm trying to get as much of it as I can. And the majority of it I am trying to acquire without having to put my physical presence in it. I actually just created a 75 page business model across 4 PDF files in order to expand the business nationwide. I just got to get my business partner on top of it. It's so easy for them to move on. Yeah, because they started early. If we emotionally detached from our relationship before she left, it wouldn't be hard for us to move on either. Mine is completely uninterested in actually obtaining that. Mm. She hasn't even dated. That's because she ain't going nowhere. Neither have I. Dating apps are a scam. Bro, you spend so much money on dating apps because I've covered that on this show like 9 or 10 times. Dating apps are a money pit for the customer and it is a profit market for the investors. So when you go to a dating app and you're spending all of this money on a dating app, you are just paying them to hang out with people online. They're not giving you a money back guarantee that they're going to find you a mate. You are going to interact with somebody and hopefully it'll work out. You are only paying them for their service so that you can connect with somebody that is not inside of your foot walking network so that you can feel emotionally better over the phone. The only one that I found that might actually be dedicated to the compatibility of individuals might be Filipino Cupid because they actually have people that call you, connect you with the person, travel agent, visa setups, all of this other stuff because their goal is to have you pick up a chick from the Philippines and move her to America. That's probably the only app where if you call the number, if you set up the app, if you get validated, you're a verified member, they're going to set you up with verified members. And that means that you're going to have a shorter list of people to talk to. One you're going to select. That's the one you're going to stick with. You don't have to keep paying for the membership after that. And you spent $500. Filipino Cupid, you might would have spent 250, and you would have a dedicated woman talking to you every day on WhatsApp. And you you would have to do nothing. Either I'm putting $500 and I said, all right, that's it, I'm done. That's a World of Warcraft subscription right there. Well, dating apps work, but there are a lot of scammers for sure. Yeah, yeah, the people are out there scamming folks, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to tell men save your money. You're gonna start putting your money in the right place so that your money is making money for you. That way, you can navigate yourself to a different location. Because if you're not finding what you're looking for in the city and state that you're in, you either need to go to another city, go to another state, or go to another country. That's what you got to do, right? Now, let's swing back to this main topic because I did say I was going to get back to the main topic for those of y'all that still hanging out with me on the main topic here because we were talking about how the midterm elections are going to be impacting our ability to make money. Now, the idea of trillions of new spending dollars from the government, if we were to have a Democratic Party take over, could cause investors to sell off their bonds, which would be driving yields higher. And that would ripple directly into the housing market where mortgage rates would almost certainly climb, putting home ownership further out of reach for many individuals because the higher the interest rates are, the harder it is for you to get the down payment on the property. Then there's also the criteria that you're supposed to have the cost of the house be 30% of your total debt. So when you mortgage the house, the cost of the house, light, gas, water, all of the bills that you have must be less than 40%, but 30% is their expectation. 40 to 43% is the max. Anything above that, and you won't get qualified for the loan. So the higher the interest rates are, plus the cost of the house with the inflation from the tariffs, you're going to find yourself not being able to have that 35, 40% value over the house versus your income, and now you can't mortgage a house. And each time you try to find a lender, it's a ding on your credit, and each ding on your credit brings your credit score down, which makes it harder for you to qualify. Because the lower your credit score, the higher the interest rates, the higher the interest rates, the higher the down payment, the higher the down payment, the less you can afford the house. Is it not being thirsty is a value lesson first, bro? Once men, modern men, middle-aged men recognize that it you will find a better quality woman when your ass ain't thirsty, that's one of the main reasons why men over the age of 30 have backed out of the dating game. The guys that are in the dating game right now are the 20-year-olds and the thirsty 30s. Everybody else who learned better have quit. They said, fuck it. I'll wait for them to come to me. Now you're in your 40s and your 50s, you're focusing on yourself, you're enjoying life, you're getting comfortable with yourself, you're knowing how things are supposed to work with you. And eventually, that confidence, that stability, that structure is going to catch the attention of the right woman, and that woman is going to come talk to you. It's going to be so long since a woman didn't talk to you that you're not going to know how to act. But once you realize that the women that are coming to talk to you now are the women that are talking to you because they have interest in you. Now, you are valuable. You need to start paying attention to your criteria. Who qualifies for me? If you find what you're looking for, that's going to be a keeper. If not, hop a plane and fly to the Philippines and go buy one. They're cheaper. Yeah, I'm just going to try to buy silver. Yeah, 52, $53 an ounce. Buy silver. That's it's cheaper than gold. He said, as soon as my truck is paid off, of course. Yep, 2.5 payments to go. So, and that's 2.5 monthly payments. So that means that you got 3 months left. So you're gonna have that truck paid off in March. I know myself. Know thyself before you know knowledge makes sense to me. Okay, okay. I kind of understand where that was going. Um, you do need to know yourself before you can teach somebody else about you. And that does make a lot of sense because if you don't know who you are and you don't know what you're looking for in life, you don't know what to expect from somebody else. And I think the 40-year-old women have that mentality that they believe that because they know what they want now, that they're more valuable. And truth, if you know what you're willing and not willing to do, then you're able to better articulate that, which makes it easier for me to determine if you're a better fit for me. The only issue that we have with those 40-year-old women, while they would be otherwise highly valuable because they do have real world experience, the problem is that their real world experience also often comes back with defiance and rebellion because they believe that they know more than the person that they chose to lead them. And I don't have a problem with women leading, but women have the expectation that the man is supposed to lead, but they are so blinded by their choice in the man that was spending money that they did not pay attention to the man's thought process. So they do not choose a man that makes decisions that they agree with. And now, instead of them being happy in their relationship with the choices that he's making so that she can focus on something else and they can be better together, instead, she's challenging every choice that he makes. They're arguing all the time because she doesn't agree with him, because it's equivalent to walking past a paid attorney, picking up a public defender who's going to try to get you to take a plea deal when you're innocent. That's the kind of argument you're having in a relationship because instead of her picking the right person to represent her, she got with the easiest person to get money from. And that's where the conflict comes in. He said, before you can know anything, though, you got to try yourself. Yeah, you got to know yourself, definitely. Sometimes I hate talk to text, bro. I never use talk to text. I got a paranoia reason why I don't use talk to text. I don't use talk to text because my voice has to be recorded onto the device in order for it to translate it to a text message, which means that they have my voice because it's part of the data that's in the phone that does the data dump at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So, I don't like doing voice and text. However, on my laptop, when I'm trying to write down a very long document, I have every expectation to, if at all possible, do voice to text dictation because I would prefer to say everything that I'm thinking and have it written out for me and then go back and edit it, manually edit it, instead of trying to type out word for word every thought that I have. So it's a double standard. But on my cell phone, I'm not a big fan of voice to text myself. I will typically just type it up. I do it from time to time, but I'm not really all. That's not my go-to. That's not my go-to. Um, I am torn between the convenience of modern technology and the corruption behind it. So sometimes I take advantage of modern technology so that I can be more efficient. And other times, my knowledge of how quickly that information can go south for you has me concerned about my personal safety. Not like somebody's going to run up in my house and knock me off, but if you have my voice and then I have voice activated passwords, voice activated locks, voice this, voice that, now they've got my voice, right? We a lot of the times default, everybody with an iPhone uses one of their fingerprints to unlock their phone. They sometimes forget their 4-digit PIN number. We're going to get back to this politics topic, but I want to talk about this real quick. Now, think about this real quick. For everybody with an iPhone, you already know, you've seen it on all of the detective TV shows, that somebody could come behind you with a roll of clear scotch tape and lift your fingerprint from the surface of most items that you touch on a day to day basis. Once you set up your bioprint for one of the dominant fingers that you typically utilize on a day to day basis, if somebody wanted to lift your phone and then break into your phone, all they would have to do is follow you and lift your fingerprint off of the last thing you touch, then boost your phone out of your pocket and use that exact fingerprint to access your phone, apply pressure to it. Now your phone is open. Damn. And guess what's on your phone? Apple Pay. Guess what's on your phone? Android Pay, Google Pay. And what's there? Every single credit card that you have. And a lot of times, every bank account that you have. Damn. So, simply making it easier for yourself to get into your phone makes it easier for somebody else to rob you blind. This is the reason why I don't always depend on technology. They just make the decision for themselves and then let deal with the ramifications and the cost. That now that I talked about the cost, you're like, oh shit. Your voice don't need to be translated, buddy. Your thoughts are translated. You have an EMF meter in your phone, but that's whole nother. Well, you ain't lying about. They were talking about doing implants in the brain in order for you to activate electronic devices. I talked about brain hacking before. Don't get Dylan started. Dylan gonna tell you some stuff. He knows some stuff. You know, Optimus Prime is on the dark side of the moon now. Uh, Similar for Android, uh, about 10 years ago. Yeah, but you know what? iPhone is buying all of Android's old technology. So all of Samsung's technology that is outdated for Samsung is starting to be the new generation for iPhone. So you have the exact same. So the iPhone 16 is the Note 4. The iPhone Titanium is the S20. Okay. They playing catch up. Chevy is Ford and Ford is Dodge. Yeah. And the Ford Eco is the Prius. Because you know that ecosystem came from Japan. Yeah, I don't have any voice activated anything. It doesn't work. I deactivated the voice activated. I don't have y'all be like, ooh, hey Siri, hey Alexa. I don't hate shit. I deactivated all of that because you know that also means that the phone has the legal authority based on the policies and terms and conditions to wiretap your house so that it can listen for your voice when your voice gives a voice command. But that also means that it is always running, documenting everything that you say so that it can pick up the voice command in order for it to follow that command, which means that whoever's on the other end of that phone can pick up that data and know everything is being said in the house. Notice while we're talking about politics on this channel, you have gotten a commercial or three that are politically related because we're having a conversation. So I tried facial recognition too. It doesn't want to recognize my scraggly face, and neither does my fingerprint since they're all destroyed. Oh no, I've got the facial recognition on my laptop. I don't use it because I cover the camera on the thing because I'm a ghost in the system. No, you not. You think you're a ghost. Ah, you're you're a tax-paying American. You're the least likely to be a ghost. I did allow the voice to text function, but I disabled the AI system for the developer setting of the phone. Okay, fantastic. That's smart because that's really going to collect all of your information. I turned all that stuff off. Is it do your screen is the camera? Oh no. Okay, so I have it on my laptop. I have the retina screen, whatever, for the laptop. I don't have that on cell phone. All that stuff is turned off. And the phone is always facing the ceiling away from me. Um I make sure that all the lights are off on all the cameras. I make sure that all the cameras are face downward. When I'm not on the laptop but facing the laptop, I cover the camera to make sure that I can't be seen. I'm always wondering about some other stuff. Now, back to the election situation. Um, the election's impact on housing go beyond interest rates, and the actual supply of houses is going to be at stake coming soon because the U.S. has a massive housing shortage, and the debate over how to fix that is intensely political, often boiling down to local zoning laws and not in my backyard opposition to new construction. That's going to be something that anybody who's trying to start up in the real estate, you're going to benefit from the knowledge of there having a housing shortage. And if you start doing any development that's going to be working towards the low income housing ring, you might be able to find government grants and incentives that will subsidize some of the costs of you starting up just so that you can help solve the problem. So while big businesses are buying up all the land and buying up all the real estate so that they can push the narrative, the understanding is that if you go for the untapped market, I'm going to give y'all something for anybody who's been following me today for the last hour and 30 minutes. The untapped market in real estate is uh, 80% the upper lower class, middle class, the guys that are just outside of HUD approvals. Those are the people that need the most financial assistance. They're making more than 60, 70,000 a year, but they're not making 100,000 a year. That 40,000 a year bracket of people need financial assistance. Believe it or not. because the working class, the poor class, starts at 72, $73,000 a year and goes down. So food stamps and other government assistance stops at 30,000, and then you stop getting government assistance with health insurance and shit like that at like 50,000, and anything above 50, $60,000, the HUD don't even want to help you out no more. So now between 60, 65, 70,000, 80,000, that area right there, those are the people that wish that they could get a little extra money to help smooth over some of the shit. So that market area is a fantastic market area to tap into because uh, they're gonna be more willing to pay because you're willing to help them, you're willing to work with them when everybody else won't do it. The people who don't get approved by the bank, who don't want to be sharked by the fix and flipper, they're gonna come to you, and you're gonna make a bunch of money off of that. Uh, Jolin says, I know there's a camera, but there's also built-in cameras in the screen that you can't see. You have to use a special light in the UV spectrum. Oh shit. I didn't know that. It's generally in the right hand bottom corner of, hold on, not on this phone. Uh, let me see. Let me check. Let me check. It's one of them older phones. Right in the bottom corner. Shoot, I might have to double check. Oh no, oh no. Okay, hold on. There's like a top right, different top right. Search for the center of the screen. You have to use a flashlight that is a UVC flashlight, like for finding scorpions. Oh, like those lights that they use to find the stains on the sheet in the hotel room. Oh, okay, okay, that's interesting. Well, again, my cell phones be facing ceilings. The way I look like these when I when I go to make a phone call. Get them from Amazon. Well, shoot, if they're sold on Amazon, I could probably find them on Temu. So if they're $2 on Amazon, there might be like three for five on Temu. LED productive UVC radiation. Okay, okay, I'll take a look at that. Now, so the midterm elections that we were talking about earlier is going to include 39 governor races and countless state legislation contests. And this is going to be at the state level and the local levels where the real powers are over zoning. So the authorities are going to be like overlapping one another in this area. So a powerful shift in a state could lead to new laws that encourages the construction of more apartments and starter homes. At the federal level, a Republican controlled Congress might push a deregulation, while a Democratic Congress might offer grants for affordable housing construction. And that's where, if Democratic parties got into play and then you started expanding your real estate business in affordable housing areas, you might start grabbing some of those grants. And this is where I tell people that when you guys start voting, that you need to start paying attention to what the political agendas are, because once your life starts being impacted positively by a Democratic Party, you can't just vote Republican because you're Republican. You got to vote for what impacts your money the most or your ability to make money the most. He says when you flash that same UVC spectrum on the LED and it is on, such as it is receiving light rather than emitting light, which all of them can do. True. Stand out bright green. Oh, and that's why technology, you can reverse engineer your LED screen to become a photo. photovoltaic collector. Oh, including your broken TV. So it'll take light in, and then what's it do is gonna charge up the TV and start re-emitting the light after it's absorbed it all by reversing the polarity. Very intellectual. That must be one of the things you were talking about putting a patent on. Light receiving diode, light emitting diode is the same thing essentially. Yeah, that's true. Just like the speaker can become a microphone. That's also true. Once they realized that, that's when they started putting the speakerphone in the car. One waveform hidden within another. And noise cancellation is having the exact same signal overlapping itself until they cancel each other out. Now, for you guys, when we start talking about how the real estate can benefit you in some ways and not benefit you in other ways, depending on which political power gets into office, this is going to be deeply personal because if you're a homeowner with a low fixed mortgage rate, rising rates aren't so bad. But if you're a young family trying to save for a down payment, a spike in mortgage rates could be a dream killer. For renters, the outcome of a state and local race that could be far more important than who controls Washington because the midterms will affect your housing costs in both the short and long terms. Because in the short term, all eyes are on the bond market and mortgage rates. But in the long term, the election sets the stage for a bigger political fight over how to solve the nation's housing crisis, a fight that will happen not just in DC, but in your own state capital. And every time you fill up a tank, flip on a light switch, or adjust your thermostat, you're plugging into the global energy market, and that market has become one of the most politicized arenas in the world. And it all boils down to two competing visions for the future. And the 2026 midterms are a massive referendum on which paths America is going to take. And that's one of the wild things. So, if you haven't gotten your real estate situation started, you will be able to get it started by um, following through with any political party that may support your bottom line. So thinking about what's about to come, what changes are about to come, now is the time for you to start figuring out what plans you're going to make going forward so that you can make those changes and make those impacts. He said, correct, like puddles of water, two wave energies cancel each other out and it becomes a vacuum. Yes. So what we need is two different women arguing it at each other at opposing wavelengths so that they cancel each other out, and we have a house full of silence. Oh man, I just thought of a new patent: the voice canceler. You know how women like to wear those chokers, right? So if for a choker, it's got a device on it where it doesn't cause any harm to them. It looks cute. They're gonna wear it, but you have this remote where it sends a signal that matches their voice. So when their voice comes out, an alternate sound wave comes out at the same time that cancels out their voice, so you can't hear nothing they say as if they're mute. Ah, she start bitching, you push a button. You just nod your head. Now, on the political side of things, you'll see on one side that you have a philosophy that's going to be prioritizing energy independence and low cost through more production of oil, natural gas, and coals, and robbing Venezuela of their oils. And then on the other side, philosophy that prioritizes a fast transition to renewables, which is going to be solar, wind, and green tech. I'm still sitting over here thinking to myself about how I can put solar panels in places like on top of my car. I don't use my car that much, but I don't like jumping my car off every time I get ready to go places or reconnecting the battery or whatever. I would love to be able to put solar panels all over the hood and stuff and have that connected to my car, charging up my car battery. So when it's time for me to start my car, I don't have to worry about connecting the battery. It's already connected. But the trouble I'm going to have is that one, the solar panels have to be accessible by the sun in an area where people aren't going to steal my solar panels. And two, I have to put the solar panels on my car when I park and take the solar panels off the car when I stop. That's the only frustration. A shock collar would work as well. Yeah, but we don't want to hurt them in advance. So the way it works is you're supposed to tell them twice before they get the black eye. You're not supposed to give them the black eye and then tell them twice. That would be my daughter and my ex-wife. So you got to be like, uh, uh, sit, stay, shut up, sit, stay, shut up, da 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 da. Sit, stay, shut up, good wife. You know what I mean? They don't like to know it, but yeah, you know. Man. So, real quick, let's see how a power shift could send your utility bills in very different directions, just like that political chaos that happened last year, where Canada raised the cost of electricity to Minnesota and a couple of other states, where they're now paying an extra 25% on their utility bills. Consider, oh, before we get started, let's see what you got to say here. Um, that's easy. Just put a uh, bendable, stickable, photovoltaic cell on your car. Oh, okay. Attach the battery to it. Right. Okay. And then I just put a disruption switch system for solar panels is uh, easy. 12 volt is 12 volt. Right. No, so installing it is fine. Like putting it on the car is fine. But typically, if you're not drilling holes in your roof and drilling holes in your hood, you're going to have something that's like a magnet that's going to attach to your vehicle, which means that somebody could just pull it off and just walk off with it. So if you have your car in your house, or not in your house, but on your property where your property is fenced off, where your car can sit in the sun, but nobody's like messing with your car kind of thing, then yeah, that's what I want to do. That's exactly what I was thinking about doing. Put like two or three solar panels on one big solar panel on the hood, one solar panel on the roof, maybe a solar panel on the back of the car, and then have them all connected inside of the car where because I actually have a battery on the floorboard and a battery on the hood. So I have a battery on the passenger side of the car and a battery on the hood. And if I ran all of that to the battery on the floorboard and that was connected to the battery under the hood, then I'd have two batteries charged for the car. I could just get in the car and crank the bad boy up and be good to go. But my concern is that if the solar panels are just magnetic to the car, somebody who wants solar panels can just click, 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 and just walk off with the solar panels. And that's the part. That's the reason why I haven't gotten it yet, because somebody could just steal them. Not that I wouldn't be able to install them, not that it wouldn't be able to work. It's just that somebody be able to steal them. So I want to be able to do that and not have to watch them. I could just like put the solar panels on the car when I come back from going to the store, going to the post office, whatever, leave it on the car for 6 days. And then when I decide to go somewhere, I can just take the solar panels off the car, put them in the trunk, and do what I got to do. Something like that. Also, you can actually do that with your windows. They make transparent ones. Um, I've heard of the solar panel tent for your windows, and I don't know how much that costs, but I'm interested in those. Actually, because these are prescription glasses, I can actually fill out a form with the Department of Transportation to get custom tent on my vehicle, including the front windshield. And I wanted to get that electronic tent where you can control the transparency levels. It costs a little bit more than most, but I could have that 0% visibility when my car is sitting in a parking lot, and then I can have that 70% visibility when I'm driving at night, so that um, I don't have to worry about not being able to see. And then I don't have to wear these. I can actually wear clear lenses when I'm driving my car until I get pulled over, because they're going to pull me over because they don't like the fact that I got something that they're not supposed to, that they don't have. And that's going to mean that I get pulled over more. But I mean, at least I know why they're pulling me over when they pull me over. Is that if you're uh, that concerned, just buy some opaque stickers like an American flag onto. Oh, okay. I didn't think about that. That's a good idea. And the same as the one-way system used for your truck window. Yeah, exactly. That's the ones I'm gonna get. Exactly, exactly. So that I can see out, but they can't see in. But because of the tent laws, you can only do it after the first 2 inches. You can't do it after the first 2 inches on your car. So I wanted to do that where it would be all the way down on all sides, top to bottom, but it would be an adjustable switch or knob where I can control the transparency, and then I can see out, they can't see in. And it would be, it's an electronic window tint, which would work better with the solar panel idea because it's going to be burning on the battery power, right? So I thought that was a fantastic idea. It's just glued with a purifier that's a purifier thing, anyways, around the corner. No, you're thinking about the regular window tint. I'm talking about the window tint that comes with the electric cords on it that connects to the car so that you can control the transparency, not just the one that you can just kind of like smooth onto the glass and like press it up there. Actually, the very top of the car gets the most sunlight. True. I have a sunroof, but I wanted to get the window tint because of the heat in the car, not so much like the solar aspects of things. But I did want to look into that, and the most intense, which is going to be the most power, which is why I was thinking about solar panels on top of the car. Yes, they come out with that kind of window tint in Japan about 1980s. Right, but I just saw it in America like 2 years ago. Yeah, the electronic opaque control. But the one that they widely advertise right now, accessibly, is the one that is white opaque. I wanted the one that was like smoke or um, um, gray opaque, where it would either be black or like a brownish black kind of opaque where I can see out but they can't see in kind of thing. Yeah, for office buildings. Well, it was the one that's white opaque is for the office buildings, but they're making them now for cars in America. And I wanted to get one, but it's not cheap. It's not cheap. And you're gonna have to get it for a car that you plan on keeping for another 20 years. There's no fucking reason why I'm gonna get a car that I'm gonna have to trade that car in real soon, or I'm gonna get rid of it real soon. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna put when I go and get a brand new one, another brand new one, that I do it to the newer one. Probably one like I've looked at some cars recently that they got some that are doing like bulletproof windows and shit like that on it. Yeah, I'll put it on those. Like that Resvani tank, I'd put it on that. That's what I'd put it on. If you can put the solar panels on top of your house and charge stuff that you take with you to the car, it could work. Well, um, if I put the solar panels on top of the house, then I'm gonna have like a whole solar business on the house. I'm when I do solar on the house, some people do like the personal use solar panels on a house. Me, I'm trying to contract with the electric company like all of the extra solar that I don't need so that I'm making money off of the solar that I'm collecting. I don't have a light bill and I turn a profit, even if it's a couple $100 a month. I turn a profit off of whatever extra solar power that my house is generating. If I've got two or three, five, seven different backup batteries on the side of my house, storing like a 3 months worth of power so that I don't have to worry about ever having a power outage. I want to be off the grid. And then, like when I take stuff with me, I can take stuff with me that's fully charged. But when I was talking about putting solar panels on my car, it was because my car isn't used that often. When you don't have a daily driver, your car is pulling on its battery on a daily basis, and eventually your battery goes dead, and then you got to jump your car off when you get ready to leave. And that's why I have a second battery attached to my car. Some people just attach the battery off of their car, but if I had a solar panel providing power to the battery like a trickle charge, I wouldn't have to plug the car up to the house, and that way the battery would always have a full charge, which would keep me from having to replace the battery so often. And then camouflage it with the opaque screen of an American flag or whatever you want there. Oh yeah, I'm a cover it with an opaque screening of the Venezuelan flags so that I can try to deport me. Just don't get the Dixie flag. Bro, could you see me getting out of a car covered in Dixie flags like the General Lee? Got me a noose hanging out the trunk. Get out like this ain't mine. This my homeboys. Eyes just be barring it, sir. Is I've seen that. Seen a black man come out of a truck with a freaking Dixie flag. So yeah, yeah. But coming out of a truck with a Dixie flag and a noose off the back of that bad boy that says Ford or Dodge, you be like, eesh, taking it quite far. All right, now let's consider a scenario real quick because we were talking about the midterm races. Consider Republicans maintain or strengthen their powers in the House and Senate, right? And that would almost certainly mean that the policies designed to boost domestic fossil fuel production is going to occur. So we likely see efforts to streamline permits for new drilling and roll back environmental regulations. The argument is going to be simple here because more supply leads to lower prices because the demand is not increasing in the United States. In the short term, this approach could very well lead to low prices at the pump and cheaper heat bills. The long term risk opponents are going to be arguing for are price volatility tied to global markets and the environmental costs because they're going to be drilling shit down. Now let's explore an alternative. Wait, real quick before we get into that alternative. He said, well, what car do you drive? I drive a blue car. Well, I got a gold Crown Victoria, so it's not gonna go down that way. It's not gonna look. I'm not seeing myself with Dixie flags all over a Crown Victoria. I'm not. I also have a blue car, but uh I'm not covering that car with anything. That car actually looks that car looks like a detective car. It looks like one of the cars off of NCIS. I was like, when I saw it, I was like, damn, they drive the same one I was driving. The one that Gibbs was speeding all over the place with Naveed. We have to build more refineries though. Yeah. Well, yeah, we would. We would. We have plenty of oil in America, over 100 years worth. It's the problem is the refineries, they're all shut down. California just shut down another four. Right. The laws that exist in America right now, due to the Democratic Party, shut down um, domestic drilling, and they set it up for offshore drilling and overseas consumption, which made us dependent upon our enemies and our allies and other countries. So, like when we're forever getting our oil from Russia, Russia starts doing stuff. It's harder for us to negotiate with Russia when we need oil. When we are in a position where we say, "Well, fuck your oil," then we can say, "You do as we say," or we're gonna cut money out of your budget because you're no longer gonna get money from us for the oil. Same thing with Canada. We're self-sustainable. We didn't need their oil, so we were able to say, "Fuck what you got going on. You do your part with the borderline, or we're gonna stop providing you with whatever, whatever." Canada that can't rebuttal because they're going to say, oh, well, in that case, fuck your alcohol. We're going to do whatever. But they don't have any. I mean, they got their own, but I mean, what they were getting from us, like it hurts some of their distributors, but they're going to bounce back in their own way. But they don't have the same trade market that we had, and we were a big purchaser of their resources, and they were a big purchaser of our resources. But it hurt them more than it hurt us for those political ties to sever. So doing domestic drilling makes us more independent. Okay, so the problem very easy is go get yourself a stickable 100 watt would do the trick. Yeah, see, I was gonna overdo it. I was gonna get like a 1,000 watt one and stick it on the car. And then you get the opaque color of your car and put it over the top of it. Oh, then it'll blend in with the car. Oh, that's a great idea. Nobody's gonna look close enough to see it. That's a smart idea. See, this is why on this and that we be talking about this, that, and everything in between. So I could throw solar panels on my car and then get one of those opaque colors to go over it. It might dim the power consumption, but at least it'll allow it to look exactly like the car. Nobody's gonna want to mess with it. Fantastic idea. Now, when we start looking at the Democrats, if the Democrats were to win the midterm and control Congress, this would signal a dramatic pivot from the one that I just mentioned. So the focus would shift uh, to accelerating green transitions. So we'd see a major push to expand tax credits for electric vehicles again. So Tesla will start booming all over again. Solar panels, the energy efficient homes, all with massive government investments in modernizing the electrical grid. So in the short term, funding this transition could lead to higher energy bills as the cost of building new infrastructure often gets passed on to its customers. But the long term argument, however, is that by breaking our addiction to fossil fuels, we can achieve true energy independence with more predictable costs down the road. Well, if you spend a bunch of money on setting yourself up with independent power sources, um, you would have um, less dependency on the outside. So those sovereign nation folks, if you got solar panels all over your property wired into your house, and you've got you know 20-foot electric fences, like can't nobody really call themselves trespassing on your property because what are they going to do? Turn off the grid? You're getting it. They would have to wait until like a 20-day overcast where all of your power, all your generators run out of power before they can call themselves storming your property. So it's a little bit different when you're able to uh, have yourself with backup electric generators and solar panels where outside when you're living in a state that doesn't have bad weather more often than not they would have to wait until a bad weather day that lasts for a few days before they can actually do anything to you. They invest in lithium in Argentina. Oh, that actually is a good investment. um, Lithium, uranium, and there's a couple other ones. I did a whole show on those that you can invest in, and that'll make you a lot of money because those are in demand right now based on the green energy development that they were doing. There's a problem though. There's not enough lithium on the planet to supply, but maybe 10% of all that technology. But lithium is not the only thing that they're using, though. Lithium is part of it. And when you think about the lithium, it's a little bitty thing that they're putting into this big ass cell phone that it's not like when you think about the quantity of lithium that they have on the planet, you're not expecting the quantity of lithium that they have to have these big ass 3-inch lithium chips. The lithium installment might be a little dot, it might be a little nugget going on to it. And then they recycle the old product. So they get the lithium off your old cell phone when you trade it in and don't get the money worth for it. They take the lithium from everywhere. Now, the 2026 battlegrounds in states like Ohio, North Carolina, and Michigan, who's being taxed like hell by Canada, are ground zero for some of the debates that we've been talking about today, especially with the green energy debates. So these states have deep roots in traditional energy, but also have growing clean energy sectors. The people they send to Washington will have a huge say in our energy future. And of course, the impact will feel very different depending on where you live. A pro fossil fuel policy might be a huge economic win for Texas and North Dakota, but for states like California that's already committed to clean energy goals, a conflicting federal policy could create chaos. This is going to be way different, which is why you got to pay attention to what's actually impacting your local government. Or the technology, your torque converter is an easily made into, especially since it's aluminum centrifugal battery. Oh, the technology, the torque converter is made from is easily reconstructed into the aluminum centrifugal battery. Okay. And that's one of the reasons why people used to run off with your catalytic converter because I mean you can melt that bad boy down and make you some money. But think about it from your household's point of view though when we're talking about this green energy thing. If you live in a rural area in a that's going to be like an area where there's not a lot of people around. With a long commute into town, so you're living out of town, the price of gas is going to be a huge part of your budget. So a policy that keeps gas prices low is going to be a huge relief for you. But if you are a suburban individual, a suburban homeowner, and you're thinking about solar panels, the generous tax credit could be what makes it affordable for you, right? So when you see the election results coming in, you got to remember that it's about more than just political parties. It's a choice between two distinct energy futures. One promises lower costs now by leaning into our existing system, and the other promises higher costs in the short term for the prospect of long-term stability. And your utility bill is a direct reflection of which of those philosophies is winning in Washington. Oh, he said that actually a lie as well. They cannot separate the lithium from the dendrites carbon deposits that are nanomolecular. Well, I don't really think that they're separating those when they're selling off those catalytic converters. I think they're just selling them off by weight to get a profit off of it. The other people who are melting them down and turning them into something else, they're not necessarily removing the lithium off of it. They convinced everybody, but that's because they don't recycle your batteries. They retain the information on your batteries, which is all your history of your smart devices. Oh, you're talking about the smartphones. Oh yeah. No, you, most people do not put it in their mind to factory reset their old phone. They just give it up because they're not using it anymore. And they just make sure that everything is copied onto the new phone. If you don't factory reset your old phone before you give it to the manufacturer, you are more likely giving them 100% of the life of your phone's information to the phone company when you trade it in, and they're going to keep that information. They're not going to destroy that information. They don't have to. You surrendered it and unlocked the phone. Now they can get in there and do whatever they want. Where the real storage units actually built into your phone. They are built in somewhere near the battery behind the main screen on the hard drive. Yeah, you can melt it down, but you're not gonna melt down the expensive parts. No, you're not gonna melt down the expensive parts. No, no, you're right about that. They're definitely not gonna melt it. So we were talking about two different things. When I was talking about melting down parts, I was talking about melting down the catalytic converters by weight off of the cars when they were stealing catalytic converters off the cars. We were also talking about them stripping down the cell phones and taking the lithium ion parts out of the cell phones and reutilizing them. But while they can strip down the phone, that doesn't mean that they're going to dismantle the hard drive that you're giving up. So they're able to keep your personal data and still use your old phone for pieces so that they can remanufacture something else without having to go and find new resources. They recycle what they get from you. Smartphones sometimes outsmart me. So this is good information. Yeah, I convinced my mom and sister to invest in roughly 20,000 watts on top of the house of solar panels. Fuck yeah. I'll put some in the yard too if I can. They only use about 4,000 a month and the rest is sold back. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That way you make some money off of it. Even if you're not making dollar for dollar because they've changed a lot of the laws to it, I don't give a fuck. I'm getting money off of this solar panel setup, which means that in 3 to 5 years, 7 years, when I start servicing my solar panels, I can use the profits from my solar panels to pay for the repairs of my solar panels. When the solar panels pay for themselves and I don't have a light bill and I don't have to pay for the maintenance of the solar panel, that's when I just turned a big profit. I don't give a damn if I'm breaking even all the way around. It is way cheaper for me to not pay two, three, $400 a month for an electric bill for 10 years, which is upward of 30 grand, when the right kind of solar panel system is like 50 grand. And if the solar panel system is paying me that 50 grand back, when I go to service it, I would be able to service it with the profits or service it from the reimbursement and benefit from the tax credits. 20 years worth of holding that house down, that's 60 grand. And I would own the solar panels and service solar panels once every 5 to 10 years. And you're going to do your roof once every 10 years. So the year that you redo your roof is the year that you redo your solar panels, because you're going to have to take all the solar panels off of the roof to redo your roof. And when you do that, you want to put all new solar panels back on the roof, which should happen. All of it should be timed about the same. Maybe not the first time. Maybe you because you bought the house first, you don't know how many years you got left on the roof. You bought your solar panels, and then when it comes down time for you to start servicing your service solar panels, you might say, "Hey, let's redo the roof, or let's redo parts of the roof, and then put new solar panels on top of it." But once you have it lined up, when it's time for you to change out your roof, it's time for you to change out all your solar panels. Why not? Why do that when you can train it to track the sun and then use a parabolic reflector dish to collect it? Yeah, you can do that too. You can do that too. If you put the parabolic reflector dish in the right spot, instead of having the solar panels bolted directly onto your roof, you can have the solar panels near the house. Well, I was sitting over here thinking, well, if it was coming off the roof and it was running into the house, it's less likely that somebody can cut the wires from outside, because instead of it coming down off of the solar panel and going across, having a cable going across the ground, you would have it like in the house kind of situation. You know, I need to get a hold of my dad's 11-foot column from his friend and make it into a solar panel system. That's a good way to go. Anyways, that's how my inventor brain works. But these ideas are great ideas, and these are ideas you can put some patents on. It might sell. It might sell. If it can track the sun, it's going to gain more power. It's going to gain more power. So that's a great idea. You know. Well, one of the things that we think about when we're looking at the changes in the political side of things over the next few months going into November 3rd for the midterm elections, one of the few questions we're going to be asking ourselves is your job safe? It is going to be a question that keeps a lot of us up at night if you don't work for yourself. And while it's usually tied to your company or the economy, it's also profoundly shaped by politics. Because when you think about how corporate America decides to hire or fire, is based on an election that comes down to one crucial integration, which is confidence. Now, because confidence is the invisible engine of our economy, it's the belief held by CEOs and small business owners that the future is stable enough to justify taking a risk like hiring new people or investing in new projects. So those decisions are based on the future political and regulatory landscapes. And the 2026 midterm will either boost that confidence or damage it with direct consequences for your job security because they will either give you a raise or they will downsize and you might be part of the group of people that gets fired because they're trying to save money going forward. Because I know I just got it all in my head already. Uh, Turned the spherical speaker system that he made into a full vaulted collector using mirrors. And that's what I'm telling you to get patented. He said a glass sphere would work. And that is something that you could sell to people who can utilize a better solar network. Trying to told you, get it patented and sell it to one of those eco-friendly guys. Now, let's look at two likely paths that would be the outcome of uh, employment based on election influences. If Republicans hold their ground, this is generally seen by a business community as the pro business outcome. And this is going to signal a stable environment where corporate taxes probably won't raise and new regulations are highly unlikely. A CEO who was on the fence about building a new factory might get the green light to do so in these conditions. And that can lead to a victorious cycle of investment, hiring, and growth. Now consider the alternative, which is why everybody's pissy at the Democrats. If the Democrats score more victories, this is going to introduce a ton of uncertainty for the businesses. The prospect of higher corporate taxes is going to be expected because they're going to tax more of the rich and less on the poor. And this is going to be used to fund the social programs when they're going to be giving more government services to the people. Or there's going to be new labor laws making it easier to unionize, like Amazon and Starbucks has been doing, which could change the math on hiring. Industries like tech and finance companies that would brace for new regulations would not necessarily hire a lot of people, and the reactions from many businesses would be to hit the pause button. And this wait and see behavior, if widely adapted, could act as a brake on the whole economy because it'll shut down their financial investments and it'll also shut down our capabilities to get hired and delay our abilities to get hired. He said, yeah, but I got to build it and then I got to plan it and then I got to prove why it works and how it works if I just build it and show that it functions as a copyright, it can't be taken. Well, if you write down the blueprints of it, you ain't got to build it. You write down the blueprints of it. You could build it, but you get a patent on the blueprints of it. Then you demonstrate that it works. Then you show investors why it should be used because you've already patented the design. Once you patent the design, you can lease patent rights to production where you get paid from them royalties for them to build what you built probably better than you built it because they're going to have a factory for it. That's the idea. Now, special shout out to Nate Dogg. He said the Democrats destroy everything. Actually, you're wrong. And I typically don't like telling people that they're wrong about things. You're wrong about the fact that the Democrats destroy stuff. You have to understand that the 70% of America, 73% of America is poor. So with 73% of America, and actually no, it's more than that because only 23% of America is making more than 250,000 a year, and you're looking at under 100,000 a year, you're looking at roughly around 77,000 people in America that's not really making 100 grand a year. And these individuals are struggling because the working class is making almost 73,000, where those individuals are making uh roughly 16 or $1,700 a week, and they still aren't able to afford their standard of living. Democrats are more uh, communist model when we talk about an economic standpoint, not a political standpoint, meaning that they share the resources. So the taxation that comes from the people goes into the budget and then is redistributed, such as food stamps, WIC, um, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, disability, stuff to that effect, free health insurance, that those types of services, stimulus checks, um, if they're going to give you tax credits uh, for just being responsible, if they're going to give you, and tax credits are different from tax deductions. Tax credits is even if you don't owe money to the government, they give you that money back, right? Which gives you more capital returns. They invest in you so that you can invest in society, so that society from the bottom up, the money trickles up by giving it to the poor so that the poor can spend it. The poor has more stuff, but the money goes back to the rich. See what I'm saying? The Democratic Party will also tax the rich so that the more money goes back into the budget so that they have more money to utilize to give to the poor for the poor to spend the money so that the money goes back to the rich, which is really just stimulating the economy by basically doing a financial defibrillator and re-injecting stimulation into the economy to keep the economy moving when it otherwise should have shut down. So they're not destroying everything. You just don't like the things that they're doing because you're not a Democrat. But truthfully, if you're not making 200,000 a year, if you've ever found yourself in a situation where you ran out of money before your next paycheck, if you were negatively impacted by the shutdown in October, if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, you're a fucking Democrat, whether you vote Democrat or not. If you're a college student, you're a Democrat. If your kids are college students, you're a Democrat. If you're benefiting from deductions from anything electrical, you're a Democrat because that's who put that there. You're complaining about the Democratic Party, but if you're benefiting from anything that was put there by the Democrats, you're a Democrat. You just don't want to vote Democrat. But at the end of the day, when you start voting, if you're making less than $5,000 a month and you're voting Republican, you're not voting for yourself. You're voting for the political party because you need money. You could really use a stimulus check right now to help you offset your mortgage or help you offset your rent. You know, you wish that you had somebody living in your house that had food stamps so that they could subsidize your standard of living. So you're saying that Democrats destroy everything, but what exactly did they destroy? Because again, when we talk about politically who fucked up the country, it takes about 20 to 25 years to negatively impact or positively impact a country based on executive orders. So, if we look at who was president 25 years ago, that's the person that is responsible for the negative impacts of our country, or ironically, whatever positive impacts on our country, because it was 20 to 25 years ago. Who was our president in 2020? If I remember correctly, from 17 to 21, it's the same person that's in office right now. So, how are we going to say that the Democrats fucked things up? Because the decisions that was made between 2017 and 2021, we're feeling the impacts of that right now in 2025, whether they're positive changes or negative changes. So in 2026, the 2021 year, that's impacting 2026. The new president in 2022 impacts our 2027 year. So when you say, "Oh, hey, third year of Trump in office, and Trump did so much for the right now," the right now, it's partially because of the president that followed him. Who followed him? Wasn't it Obama? Oh no, it was Biden. It was Biden from 22 to 25, right? So you got to think about that real quick. Um, Like I said, patents expire. My dad got ripped off of his patents. Well, patents expire if you don't renew them. Yeah, all you have to do is draw it out as a patent and then put a copyright on it uh, with the date and then mail it to yourself using authenticated mail. Yeah, that's an old school way of getting things done, but a more structuralized way to keep yourself protected is to go ahead and pay the money to have it patent, and then you can have the copyrights and have it patent, and then still lease the patent rights to somebody else. You just have to remember to renew the patent on a regular basis so that they can't take your product from you. If you copyright it, yeah, but the deal, the sale is not your copyrights. You keep that. Yeah, fuck that. You're going to lease the patent rights to production. Leasing the patent rights to production, they can't get sued for selling your product because they're paying you for building the product. How you doing, Keanu? I got to see that you're over the age of 18, sir. Because I know we got us some trolls today. I want to make sure that you are a well-behaved adult that's going to be participating in our discussion today. But I appreciate you being in my background, though. He says Starbucks can be replaced by machines. Starbucks is already being replaced by machines. Starbucks, Taco Bell, McDonald's, most of the fast food restaurants are being replaced by machines, and warehouse workers are being replaced by machines. So while Starbucks is unionizing, they are incentivizing big business by buying big machinery. The same with burger joints. Yep, dang right. So if I really want to get the idea out, all I have to do is make it a public domain. Yeah. If you want the idea, if you want to get paid from it, well, yeah, you can make it free and then people will like your idea, but you can sell it. You can sell the idea and get paid off of selling the idea. Half of 1% tile will do. Yeah, that's true. That's true. As royalties. Yeah, that's true. Because if they're making millions, you'll be making hundreds of thousands and you ain't got to do nothing to do it. It's perfectly fine. I got lots of ideas, and you need to put them to work. Your ideas need to be making money for you, even though you're not doing anything with the ideas yourself. Democrats destroy things through the inevitable the in the inevitability of the law, human stupidity. Well, I'm going to disagree with the fact that Democrats are destroying things because the Democrats are working for the betterment of the majority, and the majority are the poor people because there's only 1% of wealthy people. There's 23% of moderately wealthy people, and the remaining 77% are struggling. So the Democratic Party is not destroying anything because the Democratic Party is redistributing the wealth like Robin Hood from the rich back to the poor. And since the poor doesn't keep money in their pockets, they're going to redistribute the money back into the economy and it's going to go back to the rich. The same way, what was it, either Richard Nixon or Reagan, that taxed the rich 50% and fixed the budget. When the Democrats come in and the Democrats actually tax the rich to give it to the poor, at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything. He said, "Hello, bro." Yeah, that's not gonna change. You got two people in the the studio, but if I can't see you, I can't put you up there. So I keep my eyes open. So yeah, the Democrats are not really destroying anything. You don't like the fact that they're doing things that actually would benefit you. Because say for example, your injury gets worse, you have to get unemployed. The Social Security disability benefits that are being distributed out, that's stuff that Democrats be advocating for. If while you were unemployed, you were able to get food stamps because you can't work for yourself because your foot's broke, that's something that the Democrats put out there. The extra money that goes to the food banks, that's stuff that the Democrats put out there. So you're saying that the Democrats destroy stuff because you're not paying attention to what the Democrats are putting the money towards. You don't like the fact that one guy or five guys or whatever in the CNN news broadcast says something dumb that you just assume that no, I couldn't see you, put you up. You flickered one time and then you got off. No, so try me, bro. So the Democratic Party um would likely be beneficial to those individuals that are struggling. The Democratic Party will be putting stuff together for the homeless population. They will be putting stuff towards the at-risk population. If you were in the midst of losing your house because you can't work anymore because your foot's broke, you would be part of that collective. You're not paying attention to what the Democrats advocate for, so you consider them stupid and you consider them unknowledgeable about their position. But the Democrats work towards the poor. The Republicans work towards big business. Now, I do agree with the Republicans' ability to be more conservative so that women can stop acting reckless. And at the same time, I do believe that we need to stand more towards our constitutional rights with being able to bear firearms instead of the Democratic Party putting more regulations and restrictions on firearms. But the fact is that when it comes down to your money, Democrats put more money in poor people's pockets and Republicans put more money in rich people's pockets. So if you're not a person that is making over 200,000 a year, you are not a Republican by financial standard. But if you're a gun owner, you're a Republican. So the Democrats are not destroying anything; they're benefiting their benefactors. It just depends on if you remember that you're one of the benefactors that they petitioned for. The unintended consequence of not thinking things completely through. But a lot of the stuff that the Republicans are doing, they're not thinking through either. It's just that okay, so here's the thing. If I give you a plan that costs you more money today and you make more money next year, next month, in 10 years, the extra money that you're spending today, you might not want to do that. Somebody else comes out of nowhere and says, hey, I'll save you a shit ton of money today, but you might have trouble with money down the line, 10, 15 years down the line. You don't give a fuck. You have more money in your pocket right now. So, between those two examples, the Democratic Party is going to say, hey, you're going to spend more money now, but you're going to have a more balanced and more controlled budget later. And you're going to say, fuck that. I don't want to spend extra money now. The Republican Party says, nope, we're going to make everything cheaper for you now. But then the market's going to be extremely volatile later. Who cares? Because later I might be dead, right? So people are going to vote Republican. But as time changes, you fall into the benefits of being a Republican voter, but you're voting Republican, your lifestyle sucks. If you increase your income when your income starts going above 200,000 a year and then you start balling out of control and you're making democratic decisions, you're benefiting from the Republican side of things. You're still fucking yourself over because you're voting for the wrong group. You need to look at where your money is and you need to look at how that party impacts your money and then vote in the direction of keeping more money in your pocket. Or if you're in that situation, keep more benefits coming to you since you don't have enough money going into your pocket. You need to vote where your money's at. He says, speaking of a stimulus check, is that $200,000 check a real thing coming up for Americans? No, ain't nobody getting no $2,000 check this year. The stimulus check that was last issued, that last time they discussed a $2,000 stimulus check from the Republican side of things, that was a reimbursement for individuals who did not get the FEMA check from COVID. After you got your $2,000, $1,800 check from COVID, the only stimulus checks that they're offering right now are for child support. And those are reimbursement checks as well for individuals who didn't get it the first time around. But there are no newly issued stimulus checks for any reason under the Trump administration that I am aware of. So that would be Bush Jr. So there would be and the Obama party. Oh, you're answering questions from like an hour ago. So that would be something completely different, right? He said, which is what the educational system is facing right now, is the ramifications of Bush Jr., No Child Left Behind, and Obama Common Core lack of education suffering the ramifications 25 years later. But Bush was a Republican. So again, you know, so George Bush's No Child Gets Left Behind has children not learning in school and being graduated out of school without getting the knowledge that they need instead of being failed and not allowing them to pass the grade until they pass the educational requirement. George Bush's No Child Gets Left Behind is the reason why we have so many stupid Americans. Obama uh, Common Core may have done something to emphasize that, but Obama also put forth enough information and effort together in order for you to benefit from going to college. They put more abilities out there for the grants for you to get a college education when you wasn't able to get a college education, and then they put well, he says I'm in the background, bro. Put me up. Oh, special shout out to Jiba. So it is still like a 25-year down the line situation, and it is a big change. It's a big change. So the fact is that the education that Obama was working on, the his aspects of the education that I see him working on, he was helping people who couldn't afford to get into college get into college. Now, since 2008, now we're 2028, which is almost 20 years down the line, 25 years down the line from Obama. You're looking at um the Harvard, which is one of the hardest schools to get into, talking about free tuition for families who don't have an income of 200,000 a year. If they were doing that back in 2008, you would have had more black people going to Harvard. He said, but they're not distributing it to the poor. Most of the Republicans and most of the Democrats are the 1%. Do you believe they're going to tax themselves? Well, first of all, Congress gets paid when the government is shut down. So when all of those TSA workers were working, the politics were getting paid. So you have to understand that they're not going to take the money out of their pocket and stimulate the economy, but they are going to take the tax dollars out of your pocket and then they're going to stimulate the economy. The difference is that while the Democrats are going to stimulate more people that make less than 100,000 a year, and the Republicans are going to stimulate more people that make more than 100,000 a year, you have to determine, do you make more than 100,000 a year? If you do, vote Republican. If you don't, vote Democrat. If you have a lot of guns and you want to keep them, vote Republican. If you don't have any guns and can give two shits about the guns that you have, vote Democrat. That's how you pay attention to the how political powers impact your lifestyle. And when you have to think about turning a profit versus keeping your guns, because you might want some Democratic parties in there that's going to keep money in your pocket, but you want to keep some Republican parties in there to keep the guns in your pocket too. The red tape through the Democratic system is 6 months before you can actually qualify for temporary assistance. That is what a lawyer directly told me. And the red tape from the Republicans terminating the system altogether, there's no system there for you to wait 6 months for. So, I mean, the difference between having to wait 6 months to have benefits that you didn't have access to versus not having any benefits, that's going to be the difference between Democratic and Republican. If you have benefits that you can get temporary assistance, that's a Republican's relief that you're not getting, where that Democratic relief that you're not getting from a Republican Party. So you got to understand that you can knock them all day long, but when time is tough, the services that are out there that are government funded services are the services that was put there from the Democrats. Look at what's Donald Trump right now is privatizing everything. The government loans are not government loans anymore. They're privatized loans. Come, I think, June of 26. The um what was it? Medicaid and Medicare, privatized health insurances. You got to get on a marketplace health insurance now. All of these things that are changing. Yeah, it's gonna benefit the economy in the long run because you're gonna waste less money on debt that the government is not going to be able to recoup from the poor people because the poor people take out all these loans and they don't pay them back. So you're reducing the debt by not allowing the debt to occur. You're reducing debt for the individual Americans by not allowing the debt to occur. But by not allowing the debt to occur, you're taking away benefits from the lower middle class and the lower class Americans. So you're saying that the Democrats are destroying everything, but the Democrats aren't destroying anything if you don't make 100,000 a year. The Democrats are benefiting you if you don't make 100,000 a year. You just don't like it. You don't like the benefit. You don't give credit where credit is due. You give credit to the other guy because the other guys let you have your guns. That's it. Uncommon corpse lack of education became common core math, which there's a Jeopardy parody of that one actually was a Jeopardy episode. I mean, you could throw that out there, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change the full. Currently, America's education system ranks 22nd in the world. Yet we're everybody that's getting a H-1B visa has is smarter than us. There's 80 something thousand non-Americans getting American citizenship every year who are smarter than us, and we're 22, right? Mm, I'd rather both. I agree with you. I would rather both. But you know what? If you rather both, then you would have to admit that the Democrats aren't fucking shit up. Because if Democrats are fucking shit up, then at the end of the day, you would have to admit that you rather only be Republican. And you would accept the pluses and the minuses of a Republican, knowing that you make less than 100,000 a year. In order for you to have both, you would have to admit that the Democrats are doing some good in some places. It's just not benefiting everybody. And the Republicans are doing some good in some places, but they're not benefiting everybody. But if you want to change your life to become a Republican benefactor, you're making financial decisions as a Democratic benefactor until you make enough money to vote Republican. If your goal is to vote Republican in your 60s, then your goal is to change your financial decisions so that you're no longer poor, so that you no longer require government assistance, so that you no longer require the Democratic vote, so that you can start voting Republican to keep your riches in your pocket. But as long as you need food stamps, as long as you need WIC, as long as you need Social Security disability, as long as you need Medicaid, Medicare, as long as you need any type of government stimulus, you're poor. And as long as you're poor, you're a Democratic voter, whether you want to or not. That's the truth. What good is a gun if you don't have courage to stand up to that which is wrong? And what good is freedom of speech if you have not the ability to back it up when it is threatened to be taken away? Now, I'm going to take that question and I'm going to ask you, how do you feel about the capital punishment law for individuals who end up having to attack or defend against police officers? Because since it was a Republican's decision to make it a capital crime to take action against a law enforcement officer, while there are constitutional laws that says that when a police officer does not act inside of the scope of their job duties under the color of law, that you have the freedom to stand your ground and defend yourself within equal force of that police officer, including the castle doctrine, which means that when they're breaking into your house without a warrant for no reason other than maybe a noise complaint from a Karen, they can come in your house, shoot your dog, beat up your kid, and if you shoot them, they will give you the death penalty. How do you feel about that? That's a Republican decision. That's not a Democratic decision. You're afraid to use your guns to protect your house because of a Republican decision. But Democratic decision would have been they can't come into your house without a warrant. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There, you benefit from both of them, and you're never negatively impacted by both of them. But for each person that says the Democrats are stupid and the Democrats are fucking everything up, they're wrong. They're just not benefiting whatever it is that you want to see happen. But the people that are usually saying that are not people that own big businesses that are coming on this podcast and saying that. The people that are saying that are small business owners where the full scale of their business is under $100,000 a year for the whole fucking business, where each individual person might be making like 30, $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year. If the whole business is a $250,000 and there's like seven people working for the business, eh, you're making enough to pay for yourself. But if you quit your job or can't work for a month and a half, you're still going to be homeless. So you're still under the Democratic vote, whether you believe it or not. People who disagree with me are going to disagree with me, and I respect that they disagree with me. But the fact is that if you're not making 200,000 a year, you're poor, and if you're poor, you're a Democratic voter. I'm an independent. Though I value my voice and my arms, okay, for one is nothing without the other. I agree with you. Your right to liberty and your right to security should not be a choice. They should not be on a seesaw. They should both come intertwined with one another. But the problem is that in our society, they make a choose. Like when they first started legalizing medical marijuana, people used to have to surrender their Second Amendment right to bear arms in order to get that medical marijuana card. I said, fuck that. I'll keep my Second Amendment rights and let them catch me with the weed. Now it's legal to have it all the way across. But you know what's fucked up? The first generation of people who surrendered their Second Amendment rights in order to have that medical marijuana card cannot regain their Second Amendment right to bear firearms because they forfeited it. They signed a contract with the U.S. government to forfeit it. That's crazy. I mean, never have any of those things always work 6 or 7 days a week until you can't. Castle law is not that, though. Castle law is the doctrine that your home is your castle. So the castle doctrine allows you to defend your house and your cartilage, which is your porch area, from intruders. That's what it is. Okay. And the fact is that if Johnny Law is beating on your door because they feel like it and they decide to stick their foot in your door to keep you from closing your door, and then they decide to push your door open and have five of them standing in your house, they are trespassing. They decide to threaten your family and threaten your dog and potentially threaten your babies at gunpoint, and you have the ability to blow their heads off their shoulders because they're unlawfully intruding on your property because they do not have a lawful right to be there and they do not have a warrant. You did not commit a crime. They don't have an investigation that involves the inside of your house, and they have been told to vacate their premises. Castle doctrine, but you're thinking about something completely different when you're thinking about your house is your castle. Yes, and you have the right to defend it is the other half of that. I'm in Arizona and we have a castle law, and I've actually been served a ticket while wearing my firearm on me. And they not supposed to be doing that, especially in recent time. Because if well, they could have issued you a ticket back in the day, but after they made constitutional carry a legitimate scenario across the United States, you have the right to open carry on your land. But in some states, it is a concealed carry state, so you would have to conceal carry off of your land, but you can open carry in your car, which is ridiculous because when you get out your car, you're going to be open carry. So, you kind of got to conceal carry, wear a coat or a blazer or something like that over it. But yeah, castle law does not stop them from executing citations within eye view where you're violating a statute. But I'm not talking about them issuing you a ticket for something that you've actually done. I'm talking about them forcibly entering into your house because they feel like entering your house because they want to talk to you inside kind of situation. Oh, they have the right to do that because they're allegedly doing an investigation without telling you what the investigation is about, without giving you any details, without identifying any witnesses, without even validating what they're doing on your property or in your property after you've asked them to leave, and they're not going because they don't have to because they get paid to stand there. They can stand there for 12 hours if they want to. They're disrupting your day, but they're getting paid to stand there, and they're getting paid hazard pay because they're in a highly volatile scenario. So I mean, they want the conflict, right? They want you to act up so that they can take you to jail. Some people want you to flare up so that they can put a bullet in your head. In castle doctrine, you're supposed to protect yourself from that. You know, a clear sight of the officer and with acknowledgement. Yeah, I can acknowledge it right before I pull the trigger. Not in Arizona, so long as we are not in suspicion of a crime, we can be openly armed in front of the police officers. Well, but that's what I'm saying. Some states have that where you cannot open, like Florida, for example. It is not an open carry state. Arizona is an open carry state. Arkansas is an open carry state. Texas is an Texas has a city in Texas that has a law that says if you're over the age of 18, you're supposed to own a gun. That's a law, right? But in those states that are not open carry states, you can open carry on your land, but you're not allowed to open carry off of your land. But in Arizona, they're giving you a citation for carrying your firearm, what they're giving you a citation for. You know what I mean? Arizona has switched to no concealed carry permit for either open or well, no. I'm not talking about permits. I'm not talking about permits because constitutional carry allows you to not have a permit, but Florida is not a open carry state. Open carry was allowed with a permit, but without a permit, it is not a open carry state. So if it can go into your pocket, it should be in a holster and it should be hidden away from regular view. And with constitutional carry, uh, where you don't need a permit, the fact is that if you walk off your property with it on your hip like a desperado, they can cite you for that, including in your vehicle, which is considered a proximity of your home. Yes. And that's what I said. Yeah, open carry is the proximity of your home. So you can open carry in your car, but when you get out of the car, you're in public, and that's when the citation can occur. Knowing officers do not listen to that, the only ones that get pressured into their people that don't know their rights. Yes, the people who get pressured are going to be the people who don't know their rights. And that's one of the reasons why we tell people about how to pay attention to their rights and pay attention to the laws and pay attention to the political changes in their country so that they can make better financial decisions. Um, all you have to do is say to a officer if they're entered onto your property is to do you have a warrant pursuant to who, what, where, and why. That happens when you're white. When you're black, you have to have that gigantic sign that says no trespassing, that has the federal law that requires them to have a written document present to be observed by the property owner or a written contract from the property owner to be on that property or the person who has legal possession of premises of that property in order to be on that property, and all consequences under the law will be fully executed, including law enforcement officers. That sign has to be up there, not just the black and red no trespassing sign, the big ass red and white sign that has the huge federal statute on it that says you cannot come onto this land. And if you do, you have a second sign next to that that says trespassers will be shot on sight. That lets them know that if you trespass without a warrant, we're not talking about it. I'm going to shoot your head off your shoulders. And that, two things, and a fully fenced off yard with locks on all entrances. If they get past that to come and have a talk with you on your porch, they are a victim of circumstance. But if you have an open yard, they're free they're free to enter your property and they're free to force themselves onto your porch, and you can retract their authority to be on your property, but they can delay removing themselves onto your property just to piss you off. And while you can ask them about whether or not they have one, they can stand in your doorway and refuse to allow you to close your door, which is trespassing. Then if you try to close the door and you close the door on their foot, they can try to charge you for assaulting them because they put their foot in your doorway, which forces you to continue interacting with them, which is a level of harassment. And if they can find a reason to arrest you to justify their behavior, your after the fact reaction to their action will be written in a fashion where you acted first and they reacted in their police report so that the judge will take their word over yours, and now you're sitting in jail for them violating your rights. Thanks to Republicans for that. That's essentially what a regulated militia means in the Constitution. Well supplied and trained. Yes, I agree. And the police state is going to be pushed from the Republican side of things, not the Democratic side of things. No, not in Arizona yet. So everyday police officers say, thank you, citizens, for being armed. Shoot. I want to be in a state where, well, Florida is now talking about some. If y'all want that smoke, y'all go out there and commit a crime because we ain't gonna come out there. Floridians is gonna handle y'all, and we just gonna put the red tape around you. I was like, damn, shoot, we got to go to Pasco County because the sheriff said you. You fuck around and find out if you come out here, they go, you could take somebody's car out here, they gonna blow your head off your shoulders, and we are not gonna pursue them. I was like, high five. But they got some states, again, New York, Chicago, Memphis, Tennessee, that is in pure disarray. Not just the police, you got federal agents they out there just acting ass. Uh, was that Karambati? Yeah, yeah. We're one step away from a police state. It was Democratic parties that put in the body cam enforcement. So when people say, "Oh, Democrats are fucking shit up," every time you see a police officer with a body cam on it, think you're Democratic parties because that's when that shit started going into effect. Look at what year body cameras came out on police officers. If I remember correctly, Obama was still in office. Y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. Now, it's just not that simple because a Democratic victory in political parties wouldn't be bad news for everybody. It'd just be bad news for some people. The people who benefit from Republican votes would be pissed off if Democrats got in there because it could spark high, higher booms in specific sectors. A government pouring money into fighting climate change would create thousands of jobs in solar, wind, and battery manufacturing, but a focus on expanding healthcare would mean more jobs for nurses, doctors, and administrators. So it's less of a universal slowdown and more of a rotation. A shift in where the jobs grow is going to happen. And then there's a great stabilizer in the gridlock method. And I hope that the gridlock happens where there's like a 50-50 split out there where there's enough Republicans and Democrats where they can be pissed off on a regular basis. Because as we talk about it with the stock market, a split government can paradoxically be good for business confidence because it prevents a wild swing in policies. It means that the tax code probably isn't going to be rewritten overnight because they don't agree on nothing. The predictability is something maybe a lot of businesses can uh, uh, crave and feed off of as it allows for long-term planning that creates jobs because you don't have to worry about nothing changing anything because nobody works out. Um, for you as a worker, the impact is about understanding which way the economic winds are going to blow. Because if you're in a politically sensitive industry like oil or gas or big tech, the election results could directly affect your company's future. And if you work for a major government contractor, your job could be tied to which party is in charge of the spending. He said, they're real selective when they cut that body cam on. Yeah, they are. They typically 7 inch fixed split shoe. I have a blade that is the size of your leg. You're talking about 7 inches. I'm talking about top to bottom. That motherfucker might be 12. But I'm also in a state that does not have a limit to how long a knife can be. So I got one of them big ass crocodile Dundee knives. Like that motherfucker like this, bro. I might need two hands to thrust with that. They real selective when they turn on those body cams, but see, they turn the body cams on when you start talking about suing. They turn the body cams on when you start insinuating without actually making the threat about being hands on. They turn about. You want to know something? I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you right now. The best way to protect yourself is to give them a reason to turn on the body camera, and the safest way to do it without threatening their safety is to pull some gloves out of your pocket and start putting them gloves on. And when they ask you what that's for, and you say because it's better for me to wear gloves when I go hands on, and that terminology right, you ain't threatening nobody's safety, but they know you're willing to get physical. They're gonna activate their body cameras because if you hit them first, they got proof that you attacked them. But now you got the whole conversation on record. When they are deliberately in the wrong, their body cameras are off. But when they think they're in the right, their body cameras are on. So if you give them a reason to protect their own interests, you're protecting yourself. But you cannot say anything threatening to them because that'll put you in jail. You can't, oh, well, if you do, if you, then I is a threat. Doesn't matter what you put between that. Doesn't matter what you put between that. If you, then I is a threat. So I wear gloves just in case I have to go hands on, just getting prepared. But see, I don't just have the regular latex gloves. I got the tactical riot gloves with the knucks on them. So they already know it's going down. This person is not about the bullshit. Body cams activated because it's going to be assault with a weapon. It's going to be 3 to 5 felonies. It's guaranteed 3 to 5 felonies. I already know. It's a life sentence. There's only one time this is going to go south, and when it does, it is going to be good because there won't be a repeat. They ain't gonna let me out after that. Yeah, because they stop introducing laws that counteract the other ones, and they just go back to zero. Well, no. So here's the thing: the Constitution clearly states that if two laws contradict one another, they nullify each other in your favor only if they're exactly the same law. So let's say you have a law that says that you cannot jaywalk, and let's say that you have a law that says that you can jaywalk. Those two laws nullify each other. If you're jaywalking, it benefits you because those two laws. But if it there's one law that says that you cannot jaywalk, but another law says you can jaywalk if there are no crosswalk lights. Now, because the no jaywalking law is there, you cannot jaywalk. But because there's no crosswalk lights in the area, you can jaywalk. So if you don't know the difference between the two laws, when you jaywalk on a regular basis by habit, if you jaywalk by crosswalk lights, guess what? The law that says that you can doesn't apply to this location because this location is where you can't. So what's happening now is that they've rewritten all of the laws, or not all of them, most of the laws that are being commonly used right now. And the laws are being rewritten to where there is one law that says that you can under certain conditions, and one law that says that you can't under certain conditions. And each set of laws has somewhere in there, unless otherwise specified by another law. So these rules apply under these circumstances as long as it doesn't contradict another statute that has different circumstances. If you don't know the law, they can pick all the laws that goes against the actions that you decided and got you sitting in jail for the rest of your life. If you don't have a good attorney, which that attorney will pick all the laws that support everything that you did. Now, you have to know which laws benefit what you're about to do, which is why I tell you guys to do what you know is right, stand up for what you believe in, defend that by any means necessary, but accept the consequences of your actions before you perform the action, which requires you to know if what you're doing is wrong before you do it. If what you're doing is wrong and you're going to do it anyway, just know what the consequences could be. Now, by looking up what you plan on doing, if it might be a risk for being illegal, you decide to go look it up just to be sure. And you find out, well, under certain circumstances, I can do this. Now, you're going to do it, but you're going to double check following to, yeah, let's get there. You can do it, but you're going to double check because under certain circumstances, that can't happen. Following too closely, tailgating. Everybody does it. Everybody has road rage. And then guess what? We get fucking pissy because the one vehicle that puts on his blinker and twice tries to get between us and the other car, we close the gap. Further tailgating. And we get mad if they cut us off. But guess what? Traffic laws indicate that you are supposed to follow a safe distance, and a safe distance under the law is 3 seconds. 3 seconds at the average speed of 45 to 75 miles an hour is going to be approximately 2 to 3 car lengths. And an average car length is roughly 7 or 8 feet, and 2 to 3 of those is roughly 24 feet. In any 6 to 9 inch car, or no, 6 to 9 foot car. So anything between a Toyota Corolla and a full size Crown Victoria that decides to put on its fucking blinkers and merge in between you and the car in front of you should be able to do that with 1 car length ahead of them and 1 car length behind them, which would then force you to slow down and put 2 more car lengths between you and the car in front of you. But since everybody tailgates, the police are not going to give everybody a ticket. But at 85 miles an hour, you should not have, which would be from your dashboard, a visual observation of 5 inches between you and the car in front of you, because that would be less than 24 feet. That 5 inch visual between your dashboard, if you can't see the concrete between you and the car in front of you, you're following too close. If you cannot see enough concrete between you and the car in front of you where you can see the ground underneath the driver's side tires of the car, underneath the front of the car, in front of you, you're driving too close. People don't pay attention to that, but the police aren't going to pull you all over because everybody's going to say speed, the flow of traffic. But if that car stops in an emergency because you are less than 8 feet behind that car, you are going to need 10 to 15 seconds to 10 to 15 seconds to stop. You have a 3 second reaction time, and you only have a second and a half to stop. And if they don't drag their brakes, you're going to hit them instantaneously because you were following too close. That's why they got some no fault states out there. So you would have less anger management problems if you was driving down the road with 2 to 3 car lengths between you and the car in front of you. And if you see somebody with their blinker on and you just let them merge in, then you wouldn't have a pissy day. But people don't pay attention. In wet road conditions, oh, yep, no hazards. I pointed that out to the officer after Jay disarmed myself and Squat was present. Okay, you are not supposed to use hazards in wet road conditions. You're only supposed to use hazards when your car is malfunctioning. So, if in the event that your car starts acting funny, the motor's not sounding right, your transmission switches gears and locks up in a specific gear, and now your car can't maintain the normal flow of traffic, you have to remove yourself off of the main road like a car having an emergency pit stop. That requires you to put your hazards on and merge off of the road. If your car is broken down, where your car is not functioning, your car is blocking the flow of traffic, that is when your car is supposed to have the hazards on. Because it is not moving, you are notifying parties that the car is not functioning and the car has a defect. Now, here's another scenario that's not widely used, but it can be used for that. If your vehicle does not have rear tail lights and you just realize that, now you're trying to stop your car and you don't have the brake lights to notify the car behind you. While yes, you could get a ticket for the fact that the car doesn't have brake lights on it, but you're trying to get to a place to fix those brake lights. You can have those hazards on to notify people that your brake lights aren't functioning properly, because it can happen when the brake switch sticks on the brake pedal or when the light bulbs go out altogether. You're using the hazards to get there safely, notify the people that the car is not functioning properly. Those are times when you can use your hazard lights. And other people use them when they're trying to rush to the hospital. That is one time when you can get a ticket. Police typically don't, but you could. But I think you're talking about the road hazards for driving on wet roads. I understand after I thought about it, I understand it. But when I seen hazards, I was like, hazard lights, people riding on rainy roads, and I was like, shit. So you know, what I mean, she didn't have her hazards on, and she stopped abruptly and put it in park. Yeah, people will do that if you follow too close, and some jackass puts the car in park, and you straight into the back of the car, and you just fucked up. Previously, I was about 6 car lanes behind, traveling at 50 miles an hour. But if they come to a sudden stop, you don't have enough time. But that's why I try my best to travel 2 to 3 car lengths behind them, and I'm always paying attention to openings on both sides of the vehicle. So if the car comes to a sudden stop, I'm swerving around them. I'm swerving around them. And just for the sake of people who like to walk on the side of the road, I am not against speed bumps. RIP. So if I got to swerve around this car, you better know how to jump like Mario over a turtle shell because I am not hitting that car because you're in the way. Dylan said, I just found out why we don't understand how the brain works. Interesting. Now, back to our main topic. A single election rarely causes a recession on its own, but it absolutely changes the rules of the game. Now, it shifts incentives for businesses, rewarding some industries while punishing others. And understanding this helps you be more proactive in your career. So you can navigate the even changing landscapes that are ever so much modifying themselves throughout the American job market. But real quick, I want to ask before I keep going, Dylan, you wanted to tell me how the brain works. Take the time to explain that to me, and then I'll double back on that. Now, of all the ways that politics can get tangled in your daily life, none is more personal or financially devastating than healthcare. So we're going to be talking about that next because your insurance premiums is on the ballot this year, and the price that you pay for prescriptions is on the ballot this year, and the very structure of the American healthcare system is on the ballot this year. So the 2026 midterm will be a critically turned point of our lives, and the outcome will rewrite your medical bills for years, at least for those individuals that pay for medical bills. The other lane was a roundabout, so I chose to steer to the right hand side of the cop and clipped the police car. Just the car? So you're telling me you missed? Man, where'd you get your license from, bro? You wasn't just supposed to clip the car. You were supposed to clip the guy driving the car. It was an accident. All I'm saying is I have no problem with speed bumps. You were supposed to be paying attention. You were supposed the car didn't do you nothing. I had to cancel my health insurance this year because it went way too high to afford it. I got to call the marketplace people so that they can keep giving me free health insurance that I don't never use. I don't ever use it, but because I don't need it. I have a free marketplace that doesn't benefit me much at all. I think I can get therapy with it if that for free therapy for $30 an hour. Probably the only thing I could benefit from it because all of the major surgeries I'm supposed to require are not going to be covered on it, and I'm not going to pay extra money for it. But the fact is that because I have the plan, they're not going to tax me on that. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hold that down. Head on at 50 miles an hour would have been death, especially on a vehicle that's traveling the same speed towards me. That's roughly 160 miles per hour collision with amplified. So she was in her vehicle. Yeah. And that's strange that I pay $250 a month for insurance. Now, how are you paying 300? You're paying $250 a month for insurance, and my insurance is free. Dental and vision. Yeah, but mine is free, but I don't use it. So, I can't really brag about it. But at least I'm not paying $250 a month for not using it. If I was paying $250 a month, I'd be at the doctor right now. Like, I've got this dimple on my butt cheek that you need to look into. $600 deductible. Fuck you mean? $600 deductible. So what you're telling me is that you're paying for everything until you reach $600, and then it's free while paying $250 a month. So every time you go to the doctor, you're spending $250 plus $100 for the first six appointments that you have out of the year, and then the second six appointments are free. See how the shit is ripping you off, bro? Now I got a free healthcare plan, and if I did uh if I did go in there, it would be a there would be a I do believe a 50/50 copay. So if it's like 107, I don't pay nothing every month, and if I did go to the doctor, it'd be like a for certain doctors it'd be like $75. That's a lot of car insurance. No, he's got health insurance, not car insurance. One vehicle, old jalopy liability, one new car, fully covered, $127 a month. I live in Texas, so I don't know if that is why. Oh, yours. You got one new car for full coverage for $127 a month. That's actually pretty good. Um, I got full coverage and I'm paying $100 a month. But if I had a second car, I'd probably be paying 150 because they would stack it. They would stack it if I put a second car in my insurance. I got two cars, but only one of them. I only insure one at a time, and the reason why I only insure one at a time is because I only drive them one at a time. I drive them until they break, and then I move the plates to the other vehicle, and I only keep one vehicle registered at a time, even though I keep extra plates lying around so that nobody messes with my vehicles. So, yeah, I'll have two, three, five, seven cars in the yard, but only one of them will have insurance on it, and that's the one that I drive on a regular basis. Yeah, yeah. See, that's the complaint. You got a $250 a month health insurance policy that you're paying for, and you're not using it. I'm not paying for it, and not if I'm paying for it, I'm not gonna not use it. And if I don't have to pay for it, I don't care if I don't use it. But I'm not about to pay for something I don't use. That's a waste of money. What plan do you have, and how does someone look into getting it? So what happened was, when Obama and Joe Biden, Democrats, was pushing the Obamacare, the marketplace thing came out in 24, no, 22. They started between 22 and 23. It came out, and when marketplace came out because they did that tax credit, and that was actually Joe Biden that did that. There's a $1,500 tax credit towards your health care, and if you get on a marketplace plan, what they'll do is they'll fit you with a plan that's based on whatever coverage that you're trying to get. And out of that coverage, that $1,500 a month, I mean, that $1,500 a year will be divided into your monthly plan. Now, since it's divided into your monthly plan, typically you have the type of plan that's like 45, 50, $75 a month if you get the basic stuff, because like Steve, Joel says he doesn't get sick. I don't get sick either, so we only get hurt, so we don't go to the doctor. So if you get the cheapest plan that they got, the cheapest market-based plan that they have, then what happens is you don't have to pay for anything. So you go from nothing to nothing because they will have an insurance policy that you don't need, that you don't use, and that insurance policy is covered by the $1,500 a month credit. Now, if the health insurance costs more money and the credit is used up, then the remainder you pay out of pocket. So then you would have more coverage and you'd be paying like $20 a month for your insurance policy for a marketplace thing. So what you would have to do is look up a marketplace insurance policy in your city or state and see if they have something for you. Um, Actually, I got to call them in the morning to update my policy for the new year. So what I'll do is after I call them, I'm going to take their phone number and I'm going to send you a message with their phone number, and you can call them and see if they've got a marketplace policy in your area that can give you some better health insurance coverage, because that might help you out with insurance. You can see what the rates are. You can see whether or not the coverage that they're going to offer with the number of doctor's appointments that you can have and stuff to that effect based on your needs could actually benefit you. So since we're talking about healthcare, I'll put it up there. And for those people that are in the membership, I will put that marketplace phone number in the membership. So there you got it. They said progressive, but I always switch every. No, I have USAA. You have progressive. Progressive is the most expensive insurance company out there. Allstate is far cheaper than progressive. Allstate is cheaper than USAA, and Allstate is even cheaper if you have a commercial account. Allstate also has the most insurance companies are doing it now. The little like GPS tracker thing that rates your mileage and then gives you an even bigger discount, but Allstate is probably the cheapest one. Progressive pays out faster. Progressive and Allstate pays out faster than Geico and Esurance. And then Liberty Mutual is more expensive, but Liberty Mutual is more expensive because they're going to replace your car with a newer car. So really, the extra money that you're putting aside for Liberty Mutual helps you get a more expensive car than the car that you have. If you were to take the difference between a Liberty Mutual policy and a Allstate policy and put that money into a high interest bank account, by the time you do get into a crash, because the average person doesn't get into a crash every month, if you have one once a year, that's a lot. So if you're putting the money away, if you do get into the kind of crash that does total out your car, the extra money difference between your cheap insurance policy with Allstate or like USAA or somebody versus your expensive policy with Liberty Mutual, you can just buy your own car with an increase. Yes, he said he didn't say I don't get sick either. Most of us who work for ourselves use Obamacare because the government did pay the premiums as of January 1st, and I believe it is gone now. I don't know if it's gone now. I'm going to call them and see, and that's why I said I'm going to put it into the membership. And that is one of the reasons why the Democrats are not fucking up the rotation because those of us that are getting that Obamacare package, the free insurance policies, because they put that stuff out there. If you got it, you can keep getting it. But by the end of Donald Trump's term, some of that stuff might be turned off. That's what they're arguing about right now before January of 2020. So if you have a policy and you make sure that you renew it before January, when they do turn all that stuff off, those people are going to start charging you for the premiums. And you're going to be like, nope, turn off the policy because I don't want to pay for it. Not since 8 years ago, exactly. So I signed up in 2022, but I never used it because I ended up getting approved for a local city health plan, and the local city health plan is also a Democratic influence. So if you do the local city health plans, if you have any type of governmental coverage, Medicare, Medicaid, or any other governmental health insurance situation, it is um, it is provided to us from the Democrats. Oh, you said how do you get in there? Here. That's how you get in there. Ooh, yep. It's I got it scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So it's he said, how do I get into the membership? It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. I thought I thought I put it up there like what is it gonna do? It was just gonna pop up at the top of the screen. It's gonna be like whoop, but no, it actually went across the bottom. So it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, the link to the show. I should change that into a tab. Let me see if I can change that into a tab for you so that you can see it as a tab. Turn it into a tab. It ain't one. Oh no, it ain't gonna let me turn it to a tab because of all the text in there. So we're gonna have to leave it as a scroll through. We're just gonna have to scroll through. So here it is, the YouTube.com link. And oh, I could have did it like this. Oh, look, see, if I use my brain, this is the link to the show. Hold on, that is the link to the show. That is not the link to the membership. This is a link to the show. I was supposed to be doing I was supposed to be showing you the link to the membership. The membership is on the main channel. So what has to happen is you have to go to the main channel and then go to join membership. And when you go to join membership, then you can do like Dylan, and he grabbed the cheapest one, and I think the cheapest one is like $3 a month. But you jump into the membership, and when I start putting information into the membership, like stock prices, gold and silver prices, investment opportunities, behind the scenes, deep thought, detailed, rolled out scrolls of information that passes over to people, I put all this stuff into the membership that adds more insight on. So when you ask me about the information about the banks and the interest rates and the high yield investment accounts, that kind of information would have been logged into throughout the week in the membership, where to be easily found. The dividend rotation strategies in the membership where it's easier to be found. So you don't have to go back to the other show and go look for it. I should go back and grab the list of all of the precious metals and precious minerals that we were talking about investing in and put that list into the membership as well. So all of the information that's worth having, I put it into the membership. And you said I never had a bum account. No, because you're paying $250 a month for the fucking regular shit. But look, I ain't gonna knock you though, because when I was making $15,000 a week, I had an $850 health insurance policy, $850 a month, and I still had a 50% copay. After a while, I started realizing that that shit's a waste of fucking money because I'm paying all of this damn money for the premium for the policy, and then I'm still paying out of pocket like I'm paying out of pocket if I was broke. So, and I didn't have insurance, so I said, well, fuck it, I'll just pay out of pocket. I'll just pay out of pocket because I'm not about to spend all of that money on I'm not about to spend on I'll spend all the money on just having the policy, and then I got to spend even more money on the policy, on using the policy. Nah, that's all right. I'll get the policy while it's free, and then I'll spend money on using the policy because it's not like I've ever cashed in on my insurance. Like if I get into a car crash, my car insurance is going to kick in, and outside of being attacked by somebody else, where I would go to the hospital for that, I don't have a situation where I actually need a doctor. Can I post my ideas on the brain now? You were supposed to post your ideas on the brain. Let me see when you first said something about the brain thing. Okay, so 107, 3 minutes after you said something about the brain, I said, tell me what you got to tell me about the brain, and I'll circle back to it. That was almost 20 minutes ago. So you should have made your very next comment, which actually turned about car insurance, should have been about the brain. So if you squeeze your brain comment in there, we'll get it at some point. I felt that the cheapest one. Yeah. Yeah, behind the scenes party at Xander's house. Bro, I'm posting all kind of stuff. I gotta do a lot of deep dive digging, and then I gotta grab the stuff. I gotta put it up there. I gotta schedule some posts to release because I don't always got time to post every day because I got all of these behind the scenes stuff I'm doing for the show. But I put so much stuff, put so much more stuff into the membership that I don't leave on the regular live feed. That if you want extra information, you probably gonna get it from out of the membership. He says, so you said to start with, a lot of people have a lot of different ideas on what it means to be alive. So religion, money, death, living forever, space, travel, and meaningfulness. Right, 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 right. Um, and I still got to finish talking to y'all about healthcare. Healthcare. It's gonna be a 4 hour show today. I got about 45 minutes left, and then I got something else I gotta get myself into. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. I only got 8 pages. No, damn. This is 52 out of 69 pages. I got like 12 pages left, 15 pages left. Okay, so what if all the ideas are correct, except that we only live so long so that our history records, our history records only seem to go back a few hundred years. Everything else kind of just gets cliff note versions. Right. Okay. And then we're going to get back to our main topic because we got to finish up with the healthcare side of things before we wrap things up. Don't worry, we got like another 35, 45 minutes. All right, while he types, we're gonna multitask. Um, at the heart of the midterm elections running through, as it is impacted by healthcare, there are three key areas. There's the Affordable Health Care Act, which we were just talking about, where some people got it, some people don't. The future of Medicaid and prescription drugs. So these are the three things that are going to be impacted coming up. So let's start with the ACA, the Affordable Health Care Act. Millions of Americans depend on enhanced tax credits to afford their healthcare insurance. And that's what I was referring to you about with the marketplace insurance policy, because the tax credit pays for explicitly the marketplace insurance coverage. So it essentially becomes free for you. Well, it's free for me, but it could be free for you too. And as of early 2026, those credits are set to expire if Congress doesn't act by the end of the year. So, if Republicans emerge from the 2026 election with a strong mandate, it's highly likely that they would let those enhanced subsidies expire at the end of the fiscal year. And their philosophy is going to be rooted in market based solutions. And they argue that the subsidies distort the market and that a better approach is promoting competition, expanding health savings accounts, and giving states more flexibility. And I can't argue with that because I don't have a health savings account. But if I did have a health savings account and I started spending money out of the health savings account on any healthcare needs that I had, that spending would be tax deducted or tax exempt, something to that effect, where I could raise money in a health savings account to build wealth on the side and then use that to cover my medical needs off the interest of that health savings account instead of depending on government funds to cover my health insurance. So for some, especially the young and healthy, this might lead to cheaper uh, catastrophic style plans. But for people with pre-existing conditions or lower incomes, it could mean a shocking increase in their monthly bills. Now, what he was talking about with the brain thing, we're going to bounce back and forth between these two topics. He said, my working theory is someone is controlling humanity so that every 25,000 years or so we restart because whoever is controlling us wants us to be smart enough to leave us alone. Okay, that makes sense. Similarly, how a parent watches over a toddler on a playground. What if we are just toddlers and just haven't grown up yet? That's also believable. Um, the brain doesn't tell apart real life from our dreams. So if we can remember them, it is as if it really happened in our brain and in our dreams. So humans don't act like any other species on the planet that can be easily understood through observing behaviors and getting it food. Humans are so unpredictable. That is true. Hello, how you doing, beautiful Evelyn? How are you? I am doing a good night tonight while we are out here rocking the boat. Special shout out to Miss Evelyn from Twitch, Twitter X. If y'all out here deep on Twitter X, and y'all ain't saying shit. Y'all need to be out here. Y'all need to be out here throwing it down with the get down, man. Get into the comment section. Um, so, Evelyn, we were talking about throughout the day, we were talking about how the economy is going to be shifting with the political polls and how it's going to negatively impact our money. But we kind of took a segue because Dylan's telling us his theory about how the brain is working right now. And then we were going to get back to the main topic. But if you have any information that you would like to share with us, Evelyn, feel free to dive in. Also, make sure that you follow the show, hit that like and subscribe button, tiptoe on over to YouTube and do the same. Because Evelyn, if you were to come on over to YouTube and take a look at us and then go back over to watching us with Twitch, you'll get that push notification because we are live 7 nights a week. And we're talking about ways to make, save, and invest money on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then we talk about ways to improve your personal decision making on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And we got random questions and comments from the fans on Sunday. So we always got something different every night of the week. Now, while granted, the majority of this show is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective, I typically am a universal, uniformed individual. So I always talk about both sides of the fence. So when we do talk about relationship topics and other issues with personal development, family development, networking, friendship improvement, uh, professional development, where you're working on your relationships with your bosses and stuff to that effect. Um, we come from both sides of the fence, how it affects the women and also how it affects the men, so that we're looking at it from a holistic improvement standpoint. Because once you finish improving yourself from first person accountability and taking responsibility, then you have to hold the people around you accountable for the exact same behaviors, which is why I tell people to stand in non-negotiable expectations for behavior. In addition to that, while we're talking about politics today, we're talking about from the less poor standpoint, Republican Party, and the more poor standpoint, the Democratic Party. And we just talk about how what benefits which side and when. So we strongly recommend that you always hang out and roll through with us because we got a lot of stuff going on. Because tomorrow we're going to be talking about banks that we can benefit from with high interest savings accounts. And I guess I'm going to go ahead and throw in certain health savings accounts and talk about where we can get those from. That'll be a good two-part topic to talk about tomorrow so that we can know where we can put our money when we're not putting our money in high interest investment opportunities. And then Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Denmark, if I remember correctly, a different country that we can live in and potentially invest in and have a different experience in life. So we talk about a lot of stuff because we talk about international trading, international investments, offshore everything, building trusts, not just building a trust in your relationship, but building a financial trust where your money is being redirected to a third party that monitors your wealth for you so that your wealth can be redistributed to the next generation without governmental involvement. And if you do that with an offshore trust, the U.S. is not imposed upon that, especially if you're doing an offshore non residential trust that's going to be in a country that doesn't have taxes on it. The income that the beneficiaries get is non-taxed income, so it is not taxed income that you would claim on your tax return, which allows you to deal with other such ways to protect your assets. So we talk about a lot of stuff on this show, and that's why we're talking about the brain, which is more like a STEM conversation, and we want to keep our minds open to alternatives. And I always look forward to special shout out to Mr. Dembarker. I always look forward to extra individuals that dive in. But we typically start at about 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we kind of like segue into like however long that we last. Tonight has been like one of the latest nights we've had in a while because we're going on 3.5 hours. I give y'all another 30 minutes. I said 30 to 45 minutes. I give y'all another 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes. Then we got to wrap this show up because I do got something in a hour and 5 minutes. So I want to make sure that I get y'all get y'all the complete story because I still got to finish talking about how healthcare is going to be impacted by the upcoming midterm elections. But I want to get through. Hello, Cardi. You are definitely late. Let me get back to Dylan's finalization of his thought. It's good to see you again. I really appreciate you diving in tonight. What Dylan was saying is this must be the reason that we must be being kept in our infancy as far as our mentality because none of it makes sense. So too many variables, and we are so self-destructive that we still don't understand the brain fully. And I wonder why. Well, one of the things that I've thought about the observations of our brain utilization is that in a dream, dreams can have our subconscious mind decipher the information that we have retained throughout a day. But one of the things I've also understood is that hypothetically there is a theory that um, you're actually not going to sleep. You're actually just what do they call that? Shifting dimensions and like so your dream is not your dream. It's just an alternate reality. So you're living a different life when you're asleep kind of scenario. That's a theory. That's like quantum physics theory kind of stuff though. Because you also have like that movie about the pill where when you unlock more than 50% of your brain, you start being able to control more of your environment because we typically only use about 10% of our brain. But we have to remember that there's a lot of our brain power that's strictly related to motor function, and then we have a lot of brain power that is related to memory recall, and then we have short-term memory, and then we have the ability. Yes, Limitless. That was the movie, and then we have the ability to adapt and change. Now we also have a massive quantity of our brain that is not even really RAM, that is just taking in everything that we see, processing it without us even thinking about it, and then it's going to allow us to make decisive decisions. So there's a lot of stuff that we got going on, but just like we're only using 1% of the water around the world as drinkable water, we're only using 10% of our brains. We do not focus on trying to expand the brain usage. We distract ourselves from the 10% that we have: video games, social media, paying attention to celebrities, all up in somebody else's Kool-Aid without knowing the flavor. But we don't pay attention to how we can improve ourselves. So, one of the reasons why our brain function is not higher, one of the reasons why our mentality is not higher, one of the reasons why common knowledge is not common anymore is because we have tunnel vision. We don't focus on self improvement. We focus on social belittlement. We focus on tearing people down instead of building ourselves up. So instead of making ourselves better, we make other people around us look worse. When we don't like what someone else says about something, if it hurts our feelings because we directly relate to that as if we did something wrong, instead of us identifying that and improving from it, instead of getting offended, we instead cut that person down, challenge their credibility. And if a man is saying it, we devalue them as men because we don't want them to say stuff that is true that hurts our feelings, instead of just behaving better so that your feelings don't get hurt. If you recognize that you suck because you don't apply yourself to be better. If you don't apply yourself to be better, how can you not be caught not being good enough? Like that's really what it is. But he says, well, maybe we are higher beings and Earth is a video game. That's an observation. That's an observation. Because back before we had internet where we could play video games with people that aren't there, I always thought to myself, what if I was playing this game and there was the AI that I was playing, the NPC that I was playing, was somebody else on the other side playing the game? And I think enough people thought of that idea until they actually made it a thing. Limitless would apply if we are indeed being throttled. But what if we haven't evolved enough yet? Well, we haven't. Even in the movie Limitless, somebody had to take a genetically modified pill, a genetically modifiable pill, in order to enhance their brain enough for them to be able to evolve. So, well, truly, the people that keep us confused are the people that benefit the most from us fighting each other. But outside of a scientific scenario, we can look at that with the government powers. The reason why we have racial divide, and then after racial divide, we have social and economic divide. And then after social and economic divide, we have gender divide. So men do not work with women because women do not work with men. Black people do not work with non-black people, and non-black people do not work with black people. Rich do not work with poor. Poor do not work with rich. The person on the left will try to hold the person down on the right instead of helping the person on the right come up so that the person on the left will come up. Crabs in the bucket scenario. We're so divided. Then it gets even worse in the poor communities because now you're being discriminated by the shade of darkness that you have, and you're discriminated by the shade of poorness that you have. None of you can afford a private school, but because one of you's got free lunch and the other one's got to beat you up and steal your lunch because they can't afford lunch and their mama don't want to give them no lunch, y'all picking on one another because y'all are all poor. The fact is that the divide is so deep. 1% of people are making money, and the rest of us are either fighting over the little bit of resources that's there, or when we're making a bunch of money, we're wasting it. We're the poor people is, something funny while we're thinking about this right now. Think about the economic divide with the mentality shift. What multimillionaire have you seen with a foot and a half of cash pressed up against their head as if they were making a phone call with their money? That's poor mentality. Showing off to the world, please rob me before I go back to my house. And shit, you could just follow me back to my house and rob me at the house because I've got this much cash on me with non sequential bills. Rich people try to hide their wealth. They will buy a big house and they will buy expensive cars and they might take the cheapest car that they have and go out to the poor areas and do stuff, but they typically keep their wealth inside of their wealth and they stay in wealthy communities. That you do not park your Ford Fusion next to a Maserati every day of the week. You do not park your Nissan Altima next to a Bentley every day of the week. You can't remember the last time you saw a Rolls Royce in real life next to your Toyota Camry. They don't shop at Walmart with their expensive ass car. Rich people dress poor. You'll see a rich person in sweats. You won't see a rich person with $30,000 worth of gold chains around their neck. That's poor people mentality. You see rich person if they have a button down shirt and some slacks, like those door knocking Mormon guys. You don't see them with Louis Vuitton and Gucci all over the place. You don't see them with 30,000 rings all over their hands. You don't see them with gold teeth in their mouth. Millionaires, they're not wearing $3,000 Ray-Bans so that they can look cool because it says Ray-Ban on the band. They're not doing all that shit. You know what I mean? Rich people look poor, and then the gold digger videos make women look dumb because at the end of the day, if you really wanted a rich man, you will be talking to the poor looking guy on the street because the rich looking guy on the street is broke because he spent all his money on his outfit. They don't think about these things, and that's one of the reasons why, because we're so divided, we can't come together. Broke women cannot find them a broke man, and those two come together and become millionaires because broke women want a already rich man, and broke men are paying for attention from broke women. And we still got to circle back to this political discussion. I just wanted to talk to you about how we fight each other in the divide. So honestly, expanding our minds is far more important that going to the moon. So conquering humanity in the way how we are all mutually beneficial to each other's ideas, which actually requires us to spend more time expanding our mindset and learning new things and finding alternative ways instead of wasting our time on doing what the rich people do. He said the earth has plenty of resources, but we are only limited by how much money we have. Uh, Ty Lopez just leased a $100 million house. He said he bought it and someone posted that it was leased and he could tell them the truth. He is the most famous online scam artist that has uh, heard of. But see, okay, so if he's got $100 million house, I see your question here, Cardia. A lot of people ask that, but I don't know if that actually has any relevance to any of my discussion there because the truth is still the truth. But $100 million house has value, but if you do not have $100 million of assets to pay for the $100 million house, because remember, the rich man mentality is that you're supposed to buy something when you have 3 times or 10 times more than that accessible to you. So, in order to buy $100 million house, you would have to have a $300 million portfolio accessible to you. And if you only had like a $50 million portfolio and you were spending $5 million a year on this house, you would lease that $100 million house instead of buying that $100 million house. And that would actually be more beneficial for you to have that $100 million lifestyle at a $5 million expense. If you're making over 55, $60 million a year, it's worth it. especially if while you're leasing the house, you can utilize the house to make money without actually running a business out of the house. That's a good way to do it. Sounds like he doesn't have $100 million. You're damn right he don't have $100 million, but he's got $100 million house. Those guys that do those gold digger videos don't own those cars. They rent those cars for the time that they're doing that recording, which isn't all day. It might be a couple of hours. They might rent the car out for the day, pick it up that morning, bring it back that afternoon, or rent it out that afternoon after lunch and bring it back tomorrow before lunch. They record a bunch of women that walk past the car. They're going to park the car on a high populated block and they're going to walk up and down the street chasing women to get their attention so that they can find a gold digger, so that they can have video footage, so that they can run the clip. They don't afford the cars that they buy, but they do that in order to clickbait. And the women play right to the tune because they will literally reject the guy, and instead of walking off and minding their business, looking back at the car like damn it's a nice car and keep walking, they literally turn back around and they come back to the car. Some of it's staged, but some of it's not, and it's ridiculous. Now let me get back to Cardi's question. Now, Cardi, no, I am not married. If I was married, my wife probably would have brought me something else to drink or refilled my coffee, where you would have seen arms reaching into the show, giving me everything that I need without me having to ask for it, because I would be the kind of person that would actually have the type of relationship where my partner would build me up because I would build my partner up. But likewise, me not being married is because I have not found the right woman that be worthy of the effort that I put into building up my life. Because if I was the kind of person that was like a lot of these guys out here that got a woman yelling, fussing, and cussing at him, devaluing him, and then taking all of his money, I would be in a relationship where I would not be happy. While I would be in a relationship, while I could be married, I would be married and unhappy. And I have decided that I don't want to be married and unhappy, and I don't want to be dating and unhappy. I would prefer to be in a marriage, in a relationship where I would be happy. And through all of the extensive research, I have found multiple different ways where people can find the right person. Because before I started this podcast 3 years ago, I was making bad decisions like every other man, where we were chasing the wrong thing. Once I learned the right thing to look for, then I started changing my observations, changing my expectations, changing my behavior patterns, and then changing where I look for what I'm trying to find. And that is when I started recognizing that I can find quality over quantity if I pay attention to what the quality looks like and where the quality is located at, so that I can go and get quality. And if I have to qualify for that quality, then I will have to put in extra effort to qualify for that quality. And then that quality has to qualify for me. So changing the dynamic made everything a lot different for me. But it doesn't change the fact that I don't talk about personal feelings, and I don't talk about uh, non-backed facts. Information that I provide onto the show, we can actually, if I haven't already gotten the statistics and presented it on the show at least once in the last 15 months, I would have gotten the information and put it on the show immediately after I've said it to prove to you exactly what I'm saying. But everything that I said today, I have covered over 13 different shows over the past 6 months. So statistically, instead of women going after a man because of his character and his decision making skills, where she can trust his judgment, she typically is bribed by his ability to spend a bunch of money on a fancy dinner for the first date, fancy dinner, second, third, fourth date, couple of nights of sleeping together. And then after that, they end up in a relationship. And now he's paying for her upkeep. They end up moving in together. And now he's paying for the household because he's the man. She's paying for herself. She might buy him a couple of gifts here and there, but neither one of them are investing in their future. They stay broke. Then she wants to get married. They've been dating for a long period of time. She wants to get married. So now he has to propose. He's got to get an expensive ring because that's what she wants. That's not what she necessarily deserves. Then he has to pay for the wedding because in modern day America, dad's not paying for the wedding from the man's side of the family, and dad's not paying for the wedding from the woman's side of the family. So the husband's paying for the wedding. And that means that the husband now has to go through this bridezilla scenario where he is maxing out all of his savings to give his fiance the wedding of her dreams. And then 3 days later, they're fucking broke. They just came back off of honeymoon. They got all of these bills going on, and now they're fighting over money for the rest of their marriage. This is what we do. Now, men are from the perspective of men, men are not getting women with good decision making skills that will support their man with financial growth. They're getting women that are willing to put out. And the men are spending all of their money so that they can get a woman that's willing to put out. They lock themselves into a relationship with a woman that's willing to put out. When the woman stops being put out because she's not satisfied with his behavior, he's not satisfied with the fact that he's not getting none. But she did not get what she wanted because she accepted the money he was spending, and he did not get what he needed because he was accepting the sex. If we're going into it with the wrong mentality, we're not going to get the right results. And that's the same thing that applies with the political platform, because we're going into the political platform just voting Republican instead of voting for what we need, voting for Democrat instead of voting for what we need. They're downing the Democrats. And then after five people down the Democratic Party, in this channel, we just talked about how seven people in the chat is on the Obamacare program, and some of us is getting free health insurance right now, and that was a Democratic platform. So it is what it is. So the whole leg in a nutshell is that we cannot knock Democrats when we need both sides. The same way we can't knock women for being alpha boss ladies, but women have to stop being overbearing in the relationship and start treating people as equals. And men need to stop chasing sex and start looking for someone that's going to cooperate. Now, women feel like being obedient is being submissive, is being suppressed by the man, but being obedient allows the man that you chose, because from the perspective that women decide, we're going to get back to this financial thing, but some the women's perspective, when women decide that a man is supposed to protect and provide, a man has to tell you when to sit down and shut up so that he can hear what's going on, so that he can bust that ass for you so that you don't get your ass whooped. He is supposed to be the one that's supposed to fight and die for you, go to jail for you, and you are supposed to get out of the way so he can do that. You cannot catch his back as a supportive role if you running your mouth louder than him. If you are quiet, you can hear disaster before it comes, and then you can warn him. So when you speak, he will listen, because you are now telling him that this is a setup because you heard it. But if you're talking, you're not listening. And if you're not listening, you're not helping. And if you're not helping, he's doing it by himself. And no man should have to fight his queen in order to run his castle when his castle is overrun by society. His queen is supposed to support his play. Every bad cop has a good cop back in his play, no matter how much is wrong. They're not going to argue about this in front of society. You have five cops there, two cops fucking it up, and three cops backing it up. And two out of those three cops know that what they're doing is wrong, but they're going to stick together because they're in this together. And in a relationship, you're supposed to be the same way. Even if you don't agree with what the fuck he's doing right now, we're going to talk about this when we get home. But I'm going to back your play in the street. I don't agree with what's happening right now, but I'm going to back your play in the street. No woman should make a man look like a fool, because if you make your man look like a fool, who's the fool? Because you're dating a fool. So that makes you a fool because you got bad choices because you chose a fool. You are not supposed to make your man look like a fool. You're supposed to make your man look like a genius. You're supposed to make your man look like he's successful, because if you picked a failure, you are a failure by association. So you were supposed to build your man up, and women don't remember that. Women think that they're supposed to get the finished product and then be the finished product by association. They claim that they're a 10, which means that they don't need to change, which means that all of their flaws that a man is supposed to accept is going to be ignored, which means that you are flawed more than one way because you refuse to improve yourself, knowing that you have flaws, knowing that you're not good enough, but you want the best, but you don't want to be the best. And that double standard is the reason why you can't find your happiness. And because he's looking for sex, he can't find his. Now, that's some deep shit right there. You're not gonna get that on Fresh and Fit. Dylan says she's hiding in the bottom of the screen. We just can't see what's going on. No, we can hear what she's going on. I'm gonna have her comment up there in just a minute. She said, yep, I'm also single because of a lot of the things you're saying. I prefer my own company. I got my own company. Actually, I got more than one of them. Actually, I got two of them, and one of them is actually branched out from Nevada, and we're expanding it next door. So we have one company in 3 states in the United States, and the other company is in Florida, and we're actually going to be expanding those into the Philippines. We're going to be stretching across Asia because we realize that we can take real estate to Japan and actually own the property in Japan, but we would have to get a 100-year lease in the Philippines or get a Philippine native to be a 60% owner of our foreign domestic company in the Philippines. But the special economic zones for the at risk families or low income family real estate development, because there's a shortage of housing all over the world, we would make a whole bunch of money because we would be targeting a market of people that everybody skip over. The people that make enough money, but they got bad credit, they got a little bit of debt. They're the high risk tenant, the one that's got a recent eviction or a couple of felonies on their plate. Those guys in the middle, the people who live in the hotel and pay the hotel fee and they live in a hotel year round, those people can afford to pay rent. But those people can't pay rent because they don't have a good rental history. They don't have a good criminal history. If you build a real estate investment business around rental properties for high risk tenants, you will be fucking rich because there are people who are living out their cars and working a full time job because they don't qualify for the application, not because they can't afford to pay the rent. And they're poor because they're spending extra money on roughing it because they got to wait 5 years from their last eviction so that they can rent something else, unless they move to another state that does not track their rental history from the previous state. I don't know what business you wanted to go into, Cardi. Actually, shit, I got 30 minutes. I'm gonna have to check. I gotta finish this and start the show tomorrow and find out what business you can. You tell me tomorrow what business that you. That's when 3 month and 6 month leases come in handy as a landlord. Oh, but see, this is the platform. Like I told y'all, 3.5 hours ago, 4 hours ago, it's a 4 PDF process that is based off of about 70 pages deep, where first and foremost, you have all of the Section 8 and HUD housing perspectives, all the candidates that's making anywhere between $0 and $70,000 a year. There's a tier system for those individuals and special pricing for those individuals where you can get them in there. You can actually cover it under a nonprofit where you can get donations and other such government funding to cover the difference to help them with their finances. Joint venture with a for profit makes bank off of that shit, covers the taxes and the property thing. And instead of doing just 3 and 6 month leases, you can do 2 months down up front to go towards the rent for high risk tenants, and then set them up with a 5 year lease to buy contract on the property that they're living in, where you're like condos. How a condo is an apartment with a deed to it. Um, and they're living there already. You put them there for 5 years, lease to buy. They can fix their finances, fix their credit, and everything to that effect. And 5 years in, you switch them over from leasing the place to buying the place, self-funded. So the business that is renting the property is the bank that's going to finance the property. You guys agree upon a sell price. You're going to put your 10% interest on there, which is 3 points above the market average. And now you're going to get 100% of the interest rates off of what they would have mortgaged from the bank. You're going to get it from you because they can't get it from the bank because they got bad credit. They're going to get it from you. And now they can live there with a 30-year contract that the first 5 years they already paid, and now they're going to pay for their own home. If they find you and they move in, they're going to end up living there for the rest of their life because your job is to intricate them from not having a house to never having to go anywhere else, and that's going to give you a guaranteed standard of living. Instead of saying, "Oh, if you don't fix your money and you don't pay me back and this, that, and the third, I'm going to kick you out." Look at what happened with the people that got furloughed for 2 months. Their money was fucked up for 2 months. A lot of banks was foreclosing on folks. But if you say, hey, nah, fuck that, I'm gonna charge you interest on your late fee, and then I'm gonna charge you interest on your late fee for X number of months, and then after that, we're gonna renegotiate your contract and then extra rates. But you're gonna still pay me all of the money you owe me and some, And by the time you get ready to kick over, you can will this contract to your kids and they can stay here. And I got guaranteed tenants. And the platform is sound. And when they finish paying off the property, the deed goes over to them because you keep the deed just like the bank keeps the deed until they pay off the property. But you've got all of these extra assets. $150,000 property that could generate a decent quantity of money or rent every, probably $18,000 worth of rent every year, is not nearly as much as that same $150,000 property going into a lease to buy contract where they're ultimately paying you $450,000 over the course of 30 years, which you're not going to get off of that $18,000. You're making so much more money by leasing it to them in the beginning and then selling it to them halfway through. And in the meantime, because you're getting a surplus of money, you can transition over, start buying more property that you're going to lease out to more people. You're going to build a reputation where your company creates homes. That particular type of business model, people will be looking to rent from you. They will pay that $75 application fee because they know that if they get that apartment, they're going to buy the deed to that apartment by the time it's over. That their grandbabies is going to be living in that address by the time it's over. And when you have that type of model where when you have that Waffle House reputation, not the one where they street fighting, but the food is good and it's word association where everybody tell everybody about it instead of having to see commercials about the shit all the time. You see millions of McDonald's commercials, but you don't see Waffle House commercials all the time. But everybody know about a motherfucking Waffle House. More people know about how good Waffle House is than people know about how bad McDonald's is. But you don't see Waffle House commercials because of their reputation. If you have the type of business that's reputation is built on word of mouth, I found this landlord and they sold me a house with my bad credit. I found this landlord and they rented me an apartment with my felonies. I found this landlord and they rented me an apartment with my child's felonies because he didn't know what he was doing was wrong. That is going to be the type of person where they're going to be looking for your company. So now you got a waiting list like Section 8 where people want your service because they're guaranteed to come up because they got with you. That type of reputation is going to be harder to beat. Yeah, with 385,000 Americans, I don't have to corner the whole market. I just have to corner a niche market of forgotten individuals and make my millions off of that. The $2 million operation out of a 300 or $400 billion operation is less than 1% of the market, but it is a portion of the market that has over 300,000 Americans homeless. And if I can change that dynamic, it's the type of business model that can be backed by government funds. Well, let me go ahead and wrap this up. I want to talk about not like wrap up the show, but I do want to wrap up the main topic because I did want to give you guys some information about the rest of the healthcare thing, and then we're going to pick this conversation up on the next show because we're at like page 55 or 69. So I got a lot of stuff I want to cover in the next 20 minutes. But so picture this real quick. If Democrats are going to win the major election in the midterm, the first move would be to make the enhanced um, Obamacare Act tax credit permanent. That way, we continue to get free health care from that marketplace scenario. But they probably wouldn't stop there because we would see a renewed debate over our public opinion or the public option for a government run insurance plan to compete with private ones, which is what we were talking about when Hillary Clinton was running, which was a free healthcare system, or even enforce a the efforts to lower the Medicare eligibility to age 60 because it's higher than a bitch right now. And these policies would be paid for by raising taxes, which is going to piss off a lot of Americans. So, likely on corporations and the wealthy, with the goal of lowering the direct cost of care for millions, this is gonna cause a lot of friction. Now, the second major battleground is going to be the prescription drug pricing because everyone's angry about drug pricing continuously going up, but the two parties are worlds apart on how to fix it because a Democratic-led Congress would almost certainly try to expand the government's power to negotiate drug pricing for Medicare and apply those prices to the private market, squeezing pharmaceutical companies' profits, which is going to piss off the rich. A Republican led Congress would favor solutions aimed at increasing competition, like speeding up the approval of generic drugs. And then they would argue that the government price setting stifles the innovation that we need for new life savings medication. So the Democrats would have forcibly made medication cheaper so that people who don't have enough money living from paycheck to paycheck can afford to pay for their medical needs. And then the rich are going to say, no, let's just make more pharmaceutical people compete with one another. And then you just buy the cheapest one out there, which will force them to lower their prices, right? Now, the impact of these decisions is profound. So, for a senior on a fixed income, drug price negotiations could save them thousands of dollars a year. For a family buying insurance on the Obamacare Marketplace Center, extending subsidies might be the only thing that keeps their coverage affordable. Healthcare is the ultimate kitchen table issue, and the 2026 midterm will set the table for the next decade. So, it's a direct clash between two different ideologies. One believes the free market is the best way to deliver healthcare, and the other believes that healthcare is a right the government has the responsibility to provide. Now, the choice between the two paths is what's truly at stake. So, trying to navigate all of this in the market, the economy, and your own life can feel completely overwhelming. The political noise is designed to confuse you, but having a clear data driven plan is the best antidote. So, to help with that, I'm going to be giving you guys a lot more information related to resilient financial planning. We're going to be throwing that into the membership that will be able to give you guys some walkthrough portfolios and financial strategies that can withstand any political storm. So you can go into the membership once I start throwing those up there this week, and you would be able to um, grab a lot of that information and do a lot of research so that you can go ahead and prepare yourselves for the upcoming um, the upcoming elections. He said, "Free who? I'm not freeing nobody. That motherfucker stay locked up because his ass ain't do what he was supposed to do." So, what does all of this mean? It means that the 2026 midterm elections really will secretly change your life, not just in the ways the screaming headlines want you to think. So the real impact isn't political drama or which party gets to claim the victory. For your wallet, the election isn't about red versus blue. It's about certainty versus uncertainty, regulations versus deregulation, government spending versus fiscal restraint. So we've seen how much the market hates the levels of uncertainty that is created when a predictable pattern of volatility occurs before an election and a relief rally after the election is over. And we've seen how the fight over government spending translates directly into your mortgage rates. We've also seen how two different energies of philosophies will set up the prices that you pay to power your life. And we've gone over how business confidence built on political stability is the key ingredient for job security. And we've also seen how deep the ideology of battle over healthcare will show up in your insurance premiums for years to come. So the purpose of tonight's show wasn't to scare you guys at all. It was to arm you guys with the knowledge, to arm you with the information that you needed to see past all of that noise so that you could understand the real forces at play and what you're supposed to be focusing on. Because the most important lesson from all of this is simple: do not make financial decisions based on short term political events. Do not sell all your stocks because you're afraid of who might win. Do not derail your long term financial plans, your 20-year plan towards your early retirement because of a specific election position. The people who build lasting wealth are the ones who understand that their own discipline, their savings rates, their patience is infinitely more powerful than who temporarily sits in a political office. The best strategy is to have a resilient financial plan that's built for all seasons. By understanding the hidden ways The midterms will affect your life. You're no longer a passive observer. You are an informed participant, and you're going to be equipped to stay calm. You're going to stay rational and keep building your future, no matter which way the political winds blow. So, if you guys found tonight's show beneficial to you, valuable, based on its thorough and in depth breakdowns, make sure that you guys hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and then run through and utilize those notification buttons for all of the episodes that we have already pre-posted for you throughout the rest of the week. We're going to be getting tomorrow up there later tonight, early tomorrow, so that you'll be able to see tomorrow night's show when we're going to be talking about the interest rates from the banks, and then the high interest savings accounts, and where we can go to get those interest rates in those bank accounts, so that Stephen can go ahead and look at that and potentially improve his portfolio as well. Now, with that being said, because I do got stuff I got to stick my toes into over the next 20 minutes, I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Special shout out to Joey Sanchez, Cardia, Cardinal Rules, Dylan, Michael, Mr. Dimbarka. I really appreciate you guys for coming to the show. Jolin, I got to make sure I got you too. Special shout out to Jolin and Steven. I really appreciate all of y'all for showing a lot of support in tonight's show. Um, Look, the information that I give y'all is designed to help you guys become higher value men. And this requires you guys to figure out the things in your life that you do not like, that are inside of your control, that you can change, or proactively put forth the effort to make that change. Then navigate around the things in your life that you're not in control of, so that you can have a better life that you're proud of, that you're satisfied with, so that you have less stress, less frustration, more capital, more availability, more free time, and the clear path to retirement, because the government is not paying for your retirement, especially if it's a Republican government. You will pay for yourself, or you will not have nothing. I don't doubt. I'm not gonna knock them for it neither, because in a capitalist country, you got to earn your keep. If you ain't earn nothing, you ain't keeping nothing. That's on you. And ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, we do not operate like a red pill, blue pill, black pill podcast. We are a uniform perspective. So you too can take the information that I'm providing to the fellas and make yourselves higher value women. You just have to find the priorities in your life to make the sound decisions that benefits you for the long term as well as the short term, not just chasing capital from somebody else's efforts. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.